Why did you get off the plane?
I got this feeling. I saw Death's plan. It's not finished. I know who's next. What are you, God now?
Final Destination. Rated R.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
That makes me a little sad.
Why is that?
Well, you just pointed out that the gentleman who played Bob in the new Thunderbolts Marvel movie is Bill Pullman's son.
Correct.
That's awesome, but I'm starting to get annoyed because so many actors that are like making a big splash right now are Nepo babies.
Is this a bad time to mention that Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, was Captain America?
I knew that.
Okay, just making sure.
But that's my point. But not just in that. Like, think about for a second, The Substance got nominated for an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
That actress is, what's her name's daughter?
Oh, are you talking about
Whaley?
What's
her last name?
Why can't I think of her name?
I don't know. Maybe you don't like women.
Oh, shut up. That's not it.
Oh, so that doesn't have any effect on it.
Oh my God, stop it. You're going to make me lose it. What is her fucking name?
I mean, you have a computer.
I wanted to look at it because I'm very ashamed because normally I know that name.
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, Qualley.
Yeah, I mean, she's a Nepo baby.
Yep.
And, saying Nepo baby is a little harsh. Except that, I mean, they are like a lot of these actors are literally direct children of movie stars.
Mm-hmm.
And, having that access to show business is a big advantage.
No, I mean, it absolutely is. But at the same time, I will say that at least they're giving good performances.
Mm-hmm.
I will give that credit. I mean, yeah, the Nepo baby thing is definitely a topic that is hot right now.
I feel like it hasn't come up a lot lately. Like, I didn't even know Margaret Qualley, that her mother was, I'm trying to remember her mother's name. I mean, I know her because she was in Scrooged and a bunch of stuff. Wait, or no, am I wrong?
I say, are you?
No, I think I'm wrong.
Okay.
No. Yeah, Andy McDowell.
Okay.
Andy McDowell is her mom.
Yeah.
Took me a second to remember.
And also, Andy McDowell's not in Scrooged. You're thinking that's Karen Allen. You're thinking of Groundhog Day.
No, you're totally right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was envisioning Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I was totally off on that one. But it just bummed me out because, everybody was so excited about like, oh man. And then they were so mad that, The Substance didn't win didn't win it.
I mean, it did pretty good, but yeah.
But all I'm saying is, but then it was like, but she's like the daughter of Hollywood people.
Yeah.
Like majorly, When I wanted to break into being a director in major movies, nobody was like, well, hey, his dad served at the Northeastern Correction Facility. Let's get him on a set. But sorry.
We'll report that Mikey Madison is not a Nepo baby.
I know. No. And that's not.
I was curious. I was just curious.
Sure. Well, and that's not, because my point isn't that there's nothing but Nepo babies.
Yeah.
My point is that I'm surprised how many there are.
There's a lot, yeah.
Like
Jack Quaid,
who's in everything now, and that doesn't mean he's not great.
No.
But but also then it's like, is this just an argument for eugenics?
Yeah.
Dave's like, where are you going with this? But no, like I don't. It's hard because it's not like I don't enjoy their performances.
I get that.
But there is a part of me that's like, your parents literally have such a massive foot in the door in this business.
Yeah.
So it is a little hard sometimes to realize like, oh, like the big indie, movie that everybody was rooting for was going to like overturn the system. It's like they cast literally a famous person's kid.
But then I guess my question would be, do you feel the same way on that track if, like, for instance, Joe Hill, who submitted his work as Joe Hill, didn't tell anybody he was King's son until he was assigned author?
Well, that's I mean, first of all, I'm sure that probably still helped somewhat. I'm sure he had contacts and stuff from that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little different when you're a writer, maybe.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
I mean, because when you're an actor, it's all about like your look and stuff like that. I think it'd be less likely that Joe Hill's writing would heavily immediately remind people of Stephen King's writing.
Yeah.
Compared to like, if they were actors, it'd be like, you remind me of somebody who was really good, assuming that Stephen King were a good actor, which he's not.
He's fine.
Oh no, he's
Meteor shit.
I love, throughout my childhood, those moments where I go, hey, that's Stephen King.
What's his line in Creepshow 2? When he the hitchhiker segment, when he gets out of the
guy got creamed, lady.
Yeah.
Guy got creamed, man. Happens all the time. What happened here? Guy got creamed. Happens all the time. And he lights up a road flare. No, but it's just something that I've been thinking about, especially since Stranger Things, when Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter, who I feel bad I'm not remembering her name off the top of my head. Maya Hawke?
Yeah.
Is it Maya Hawke?
Maya Hawke? That does sound right.
Yeah, Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
I felt bad because when I found out she was literally the daughter of two famous actors, I was like, man, and it's funny because, they used to make fun of B-movie makers when they would cast, Bruce Springsteen's sister or, the Estevez nobody seems to know. But, in this case, like I never once heard mention of Margaret Qualley's mother.
Oh yeah.
Like I never heard a word about that.
I think I only found out via an interview that she was talking about and her mom did get brought up.
Well, and apparently Rainey Qualley, her sister, is also an actress. Huh. I think she's a bit younger. She was born in 1990, so I think she's actually a little older. But oh yeah, she's been in a ton of stuff. But like, yeah, it's just, I don't know what, I didn't have like a point I was trying to brilliantly make about that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do kind of go like, wow. And I'm shocked. I'm just shocked I don't hear more people talking about that.
I feel like it was a hot topic there for a bit. Like, because I feel like it was, everybody had input on it that had kids in Hollywood, especially because like even Jamie Lee Curtis was like writing about Nepo babies at one point. Cause I mean, she is one, obviously.
Sure. Of course.
So, but yeah.
Well, and I think having the longevity of like a Jamie Lee Curtis is evidence of her talent. And also I want to say it does not mean they're not talented.
No, absolutely not.
They just had a very, very strong advantage.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
But it's just an odd thing to think about.
It is. But I mean, at the same time, I cannot put down the fact that like I said, that they're giving great performances, especially Lewis Pullman and Thunderbolts. I mean, that performance really tugged at my heartstrings for a good bit.
Sure. No, I agree. It's just something that kind of pops into my head every now and then as I'm like watching it. I'm like, oh wow, like everything I'm watching is like 2 or 3 main characters are a famous person's kid.
Well, Smile 2, yeah, Jack Nicholson's son, and that was not hard to figure out.
No, well, yeah, I mean that was very on the nose casting.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't mean that they're not going to be good or that they don't deserve it. It's just kind of like, I remember when everybody was talking about Sydney Sweeney's family because, they're all normal Americans is a good way to put it. They're just not, California type people.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of like, well, I have to send money home. Unlike a lot of the people that I got my start with in show business, whose families were financing their entire careers and getting them all the connections at the same time.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Cause like at the same time, like I loved the performances of like Maya Hawke's a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I mean, there is also the argument to be made that is it too much of a power to have that influence? Because like one of the biggest ones I can think of is how everybody was shitting on Trap because they basically said that Shyamalan had given his daughter her own concert movie.
I mean, he did.
Yeah.
But but I will say, no. Well, I mean, when you get cast, when your dad's the director, that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's just your dad wants to cast his kid. I find that fine.
Yeah.
It's more just the idea, like you could get a lot of meetings in Hollywood.
With who you know.
When you have a parent tied into it. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't. I mean, we wouldn't have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures if it wasn't for a degree of nepotism. Although, from what I remember hearing, Alex
Winter? Or
No, the guys who developed.
Oh, the guys who developed it.
One of them was, it's going to kill me now. I'm having a little off day.
No, you're good.
I'm having a little off day concentration wise. Chris Matheson.
Yeah.
Is the famous writer, Richard Matheson.
Yep.
That's his dad is Richard Matheson, who wrote a ton.
I Am Legend, Legend of Hell House, Twilight Zone
incredible
episodes. Yeah, I mean Matheson's a big name.
But from what I recall, when he wrote the stuff for Bill and Ted, his dad sent it to like all his friends, and they all were just like, we got nothing for this.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't mean it'll guarantee to help you.
I forgot that Matheson wrote a Goofy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is a lot of people don't realize Chris Matheson is Richard Matheson's kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Rapture Palooza.
He also wrote Mom and Dad Save the World.
I just saw that. Yeah. Which I've been wanting to revisit that, but it's been a good bit. That was one I saw on TV. I don't even think I've ever seen it uncut.
I mean, I saw it on like HBO.
Yeah.
No, I love Mom and Dad Save the World. That's one that will forever have a soft spot in my heart because it was on HBO and Cinemax so much.
Yeah.
I saw it so many times.
Well, it's funny with Thunderbolts in particular, having the Nepo babies and whatnot, because like I've been thinking about what is that movie called? Oh my god, now I'm gonna blank on it. Oh man, this is embarrassing.
If you give me a general idea, I'll try and find it.
It might just be gone. I can picture a face. I talked about it when we were in the Flatliners. Flatliners, like Julia Roberts and whatnot. Isn't she a Nepo baby and whatnot? And Sutherland is, of course. And
I'm pretty sure Julia Roberts.
Is Bacon one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think Bacon is.
I don't think he would have started in Friday the 13th if he.
Yeah, that's fair, actually.
But I could be wrong. I'll look into it. But I'm pretty sure no.
But yeah, I feel like there was a lot of just there's always been Nepo baby movies, even if we didn't realize it. I mean, for that matter.
Julia Roberts' parents are Betty Lou Roberts and Walter Grady Roberts.
I must be thinking of somebody else.
I'm not sure that those are people in show business.
For some reason, I thought Flatliners was a big Nepo baby movie, but now Kiefer Sutherland's the only one I'm thinking of, actually. Either way.
Oh, and that's the other thing, though, is like when I was especially growing up, and to an extent when you were growing up, it was a lot more common because the world was smaller.
Yeah.
Nowadays, anybody anywhere can audition for anything.
Yeah.
The pool of talent is much bigger, which means it's much more competitive. So when I see, Nepo babies in like a big indie movie that everybody's excited about, and I'm like, oh, they cast a famous person's kid. Okay. I mean, I'm sure they're also talented.
Yeah,
I can't even think of an example where I've been like, why did they cast them? It's just after the fact. I'm like, hey, that's so-and-so's
I'm
kid.
sure there's a couple that we could think of, but yeah, I mean, if they're not coming to our head directly, I think it's not anything a big issue in that regard.
Hey.
What?
You leave Frank Stallone alone.
I mean, I love his song that we actually had on the radio station. We had that pulled aside in the file.
I actually kind of just like Frank Stallone.
I
mean, he's not the greatest actor, but I like his presence and stuff.
He was on those VH1 Talking Heads a lot back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, hell yeah. Well, what sparked this conversation was we were talking about Thunderbolts. Yeah. Because we just got back from seeing it in the theater.
Yes, we did. Oh, I mean, I thought I had seen trailers for. What would you say? Easily like 4 months now.
Probably longer.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably at least like half a year at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to feel like. It's hard to gauge how long you've been seeing trailers because they massively shifted the style and the mentality of the trailer about halfway through.
Well, hell, that one trailer we saw was from the studio that brought you, and they weren't even saying Marvel. It was just
they were like, and from the set decorator from Hereditary. Yeah. But I was like, oh, okay. I mean, you're not lying.
I think I speak for a lot of people when it's just like we are burned out on Marvel and have been for some time, but some of us may or may not have still been attempting to watch some of them. I can't tell you the last one I saw in theaters at this point.
Didn't you see Deadpool?
No, I didn't see Deadpool 3. I waited till that came.
You didn't see Deadpool versus Wolverine or whatever?
I tried to. It was sold out because I went to go see it the same day I saw Cuckoo and Last Starfighter for the first time. But that was matinee week, and naturally, Deadpool versus Wolverine was sold out. So yeah, I missed it in theaters. I saw the first two in theaters, but yeah. I think the last one I saw in theaters might have been Quantumania. No, it's way too Ant-Man. You weren't there for that one. You were sick. That was when Matt was buying tickets for us.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, we've seen stuff past that.
Past that, yeah. It better not be Eternals.
I'm checking the release listing if I can, because now you got me curious about when the last time we went.
Because I mean, it wasn't No Way Home.
No. What is this?
I'm blanking. Like,
well, I know we saw Guardians
3. Yeah.
And
but I feel like there's something after that.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, but it's not giving me a timeline.
Yeah.
I'm on the Marvel Studio Wikipedia and I can't seem to find it.
But yeah, I mean, I was not against seeing this. It was just like, I may see it or I may not. And I mean, even you and I have been talking about for the last like couple weeks that we've seen the trailers that just like, wondering what it's going to do and whatnot. I did not expect to go into this movie coming out liking it so much as I did.
It was super fun.
It was super fun. And it feels like that return to formula simplifying everything in a sense.
Homie, Guardians 3 was the last one we saw.
Wow.
Because there was Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Then there was the Marvels.
Yep.
Then Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
Then Captain America Brave New World. And then Thunderbolts.
Wow.
So May 5th, 2023.
Wow. So 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years since we've seen a Marvel movie in
theaters. I
theaters.
didn't think it was that long.
I didn't either, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense. But I mean, I will say too that I also really did like Black Widow. Thought it was a good like shoot 'em up action movie. It didn't really play on the Marvel aspect to me that much. It was more so just a good action movie. So I mean, the fact that we brought some of those characters back for this movie, I was on board with that already, and I like Bucky. So that whole premise of it, I was just like, this could be fun. But yeah, I give this movie props for simplifying things, going back to a simple formula of here's your new heroes, here's the villain, and that was basically it for the most part.
Well, they waited to give you a villain till like late in the film.
A half hour left of the movie, basically.
But I enjoyed it. Yeah, I was really hoping it would be a fun time because I, obviously had not seen a Marvel movie in quite a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I pretty much after the Eternals, I don't think I saw another one until Guardians, except for maybe the Spider-Man one or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of, it didn't do it a lot of favors.
No.
So I kind of checked out for a bit, but this one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was hoping it would be at least funny, keep that sense of humor going. It had a lot of good laughs.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing to, although it was kind of a threat to the whole world, it wasn't played up that way.
Yeah, it wasn't played up that way. And
it could have been that.
And I think that they also kept the breakout small, even with it just being on the city, but monumental enough to see that threat. So I mean, we kind of saw where it was going, but at the same time, they kept it on that island.
Well, and I remember when the first of the newer Spider-Man movies came out, the ones with Tom Holland.
Yep.
I remember being so refreshed by that only New York City was going to was the only place that threatened. It wasn't the whole world yet again.
Homecoming is still so much fun.
All those movies, all those Tom Holland Spider-Mans are excellent, super fun. So it was cool to see. It makes me kind of want to see what they do next, which now that I realize I took over a 2-year break, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I really had no idea it had been that long.
Keep in mind, they wiped the slate at one point for just Deadpool and Thunderbolts. Like that was basically Brave New World was on there too, but that was still finishing out a timeline or continuing a current one. I can't even remember this point.
I believe that's the beginning of Phase 5.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, the fact that like we are getting a new Avengers supposedly, and it looks fun to this extent, like I am back on board with at least this first movie. And I hope they can keep this going.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because I used to really look forward to them. I mean, there was that lead up, the entire 10-year lead up to Endgame was an incredible time to be a movie lover.
I remember being in Suncoast when I was working and Avengers came out. First off, our manager put all our copies in the safe because she was so worried about them getting stolen because we got them 2 weeks for release or whatnot.
That would be a big deal if they got stolen though.
Yeah, so there was that, but then also I watched that movie so much because of being at work, and that was all we played naturally when it came out. So when I actually finally got to sit down and watch it as an actual movie and not just in the background of me working, I'd already seen it easily 20 times.
That's a good one to be forced on you though, because it's very quotable. Yeah. It's got a lot of good moments. Did I ever tell you the story of how I saw the first Avengers movie?
I remember, when it was Jeff, wasn't it?
Yeah, my cousin Jeff, who at the time was working in another state, he and I are huge movie fans, and he was like, dude, you've got to see Avengers. And I was like, I don't like superhero movies. I hadn't seen a single Marvel movie up until that point, except maybe I might have seen Iron Man.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, you don't understand. it's not like that. It's great. And I was like, and then he literally was like, I will PayPal you the price of a ticket if you'll go see it right as soon as you can.
That's what I remember.
And this was right when I first moved back around maybe the first 2 years I was back in Ohio.
Yeah.
So he PayPal'd me because I was broke. I think I hadn't even gotten a job. So it was probably the first like 8 months I was here. It was really hard to find a job.
Yeah. It would have been like 2012.
Or
11, 12. Yeah.
I think it was 11.
Yeah.
And he just sent me the money. So I literally walked into my car and I went straight to the theater and I saw it on a Saturday by myself and walked out and I was like, God damn, that was awesome. So he was right. And then from then on, I was trying to catch as many of them as I could.
I mean, there's no denying that the first like 10, 15 movies in phase one. I don't even know how long phase one is at this point.
Well, I think we went up to phase 3.
Yeah.
Was Endgame, I think.
Because I really love the Iron Man movies. Really, really like the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk movie that they did with Edward Norton, even though I know that wasn't included. But like the early ones that they did, I still enjoyed. Even going back and looking at Ang Lee's Hulk has a lot to like.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm anxious to see where they go with this. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is amazing in this movie.
She is very interesting as a quasi-villain.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, in the best way. She's very good.
Yeah.
And it was cool seeing her. You don't really see her be a villain very much.
No, you don't.
And I imagine if she ever has played a villain, it was probably cartoony.
Yeah.
This was not cartoony.
No. I mean, cartoony also David Harbour having a blast in this movie as well, who's having a great year.
I mean, I'm sure that anytime he thinks about how that one Hellboy movie does, he just gets into his swimming pool full of Evian water. No.
So it's not, Hellboy's not a bad, his version of Hellboy is not a bad movie. It's just not a good movie. It's fun and it's really, really gory and really like has some pretty heinous moments, like revealing a Baba Yaga that is eating children. Pretty heinous moment in that movie.
Well, I mean, he is a boy of hell.
Yes, he is a boy of hell.
So,
but yeah, I enjoyed it. I've seen it one time and I don't know if I'll ever see it again, but it's fun.
You heard Dave first. Hates it.
High selling point, even though I have it at my Vudu forever because that was the days of Black Friday and getting those movies for like $5 that still had the codes in them.
You have it until the heat death of the universe.
Yeah,
at which case,
at this point.
Yeah,
but that also means now we have Extreme Justice in HD until they possibly give us a disc release.
I mean, you never know now. There's so many things coming out that you would never think were coming out on disc.
Double feature, Dangerous Touch, Extreme Justice.
That would be a beautiful, glorious double feature.
It really would be.
And it would make my birthday.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
I should just text Ryan over at TerrorVision and be like, September's coming right up. And I know that's not enough time to get this done, but please.
Yeah, he would be the one to do it, wouldn't he?
I mean, he'd be one.
Well, I think Lionsgate put out Extreme Justice recently, I want to say.
Yeah, but they're just barely keeping Vestron alive. So
that's true.
I don't know.
They did just announce May, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, they're putting on Vestron,
yeah,
though, right?
Vestron, yeah.
So I mean, no, I mean, I don't know if that could kind of fit. I don't know.
See what happens.
But at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is the fact that you can't fight fate. Whether it's the fate of the universe or the fate of physical media.
Yes.
But tonight, we're talking about a movie all about fighting fate.
That we are, yes. We have our continuing May They Rest in Peace month tonight as we are going to be paying tribute to the late, great Tony Todd, who left us last year, and talking about Final Destination from 2000.
And while Todd's part in it is somewhat small, very memorable.
Yes.
Very memorable.
Very
moment.
memorable.
When I was rewatching it, it had been a long time, probably 5, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, Tony Todd.
In the movie for maybe 4 to 5 minutes max. And then he makes an appearance in the next one. I think he came back in 1, 2, 3, and then I think he came back in 5. I don't think he's in 4.
I think you're right.
I'll review it in his filmography here in a bit. But yeah, Final Destination from 2000, 1 hour and 38 minutes, rated R for violence and terror and for language.
Terror?
Terror. Not the terror.
Oh. Well,
I mean, all this movie is missing is Dick Miller coming out and explaining the entire movie at the end.
I mean, that's kind of what the last scene of Final Destination is. As much as I do like this movie, they kind of just, they're like, anyway, in case you didn't get it. But And there is language, both English and French.
And French, indeed, yes. IMDb synopsis for this says, after getting a premonition about a plane crash on his school trip, Alex, a student, saves a few of his classmates. However, the situation gets complicated when death starts chasing them. It makes me think of just like a Grim Reaper with a scythe.
Get back here, guys. Come on.
Come on. My synopsis says, when a premonition of a plane crash saves the lives of Alex and 5 classmates, all of them begin to question if destiny can be changed as the survivors begin to meet grisly demises one by one.
I feel like the Pam meme, they're the same picture. I mean, they both serve a good purpose. You did good.
All right, well, are you ready to get into the taglines? Because, oh boy, this week we got some taglines.
Apparently, this film is just maggoty with taglines.
Starting with, most people have dreams. For Alex, this is real.
I mean, that applies to the first section of the film, so I guess that works.
Face your deepest fears before they face you.
I don't like that one because it's not fear coming for you.
It's not.
It's death itself.
Death
it's destiny.
Death is the final destination. Boarding starts now.
I have a half-point deduction for using the title of the film in your tagline.
In the best twisted tradition of the Twilight Zone.
That must have been like on home video. That must have been like on the VHS tape.
A film that decapitates Scream 3.
Okay. I'd like to know the source of some of these.
On March 17th, figure out when it's coming back at them.
Wow.
Intervention comes at a price.
I mean, that makes sense, but what? Jesus.
No accidents, no coincidences, no escapes. You can't cheat death.
No escapes?
Yeah, no escapes.
What the hell is going on with these taglines?
Death doesn't take no for an answer.
I like that one. That's good. No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a solid one.
Can you cheat death?
That one's pretty good too.
Death is coming.
I mean,
to your little town sheriff.
that one's fine.
I'll see you soon.
I don't. What?
Next stop, it's you.
That one I kind of like his Final Destination.
Yeah.
So next stop. Okay, that one's all right.
And finally, are you ready to match wits with the Grim Reaper? Or are you ready for Fox DVD video?
I will say they go downhill quick.
Quite quick.
Wow. Wow.
Out of 14, we have about 2, maybe 1.5 that's a winner.
I mean, there were a couple okay ones toward the end.
Yeah.
It's just a few of them I was just like, what?
So Final Destination, currently available to stream on Max. You can also rent it or buy it through Prime, Fandango, or any way you get your videos at. There's also a currently, I think it's on sale for, I want to say like $12. There's a 4-film Blu-ray pack, and they also just released the entire collection too, but the 4-pack is on sale right now.
Nice. No, and I it's a great addition to any horror fans collection.
It is, absolutely. Director and writer, well, one of the writers on the film is James Wong. He directs Final Destination in 2000, which he also has a screenplay credit on. The One with Jet Li in 2001, which he also is the writer on. Final Destination 3 in 2006, he also writes and directs. Dragon Ball Evolution 2009, Tower Prep, The Event, X-Files 2018, he's a writer on as well as directs. And most recently, 911 in 2021, he writes and directs on as well. Other things that he's written or has writing credits on include The Boys Next Door from 1985. So Charlie Sheen, serial killer thriller.
Nice.
Uncredited on Trick or Treat 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. Night Watch 1988. Also writes on Booker in 1990, 21 Jump Street, Wise Guy, The Commish, Space Above and Beyond, Millennium, The Lone Gunman, The Event, Rosemary's Baby remake in 2014, and American Horror Story in 2019.
It did like Space Above and Beyond. That's the one I haven't heard from in a long time.
Writer also on is Glenn Morgan, who also gets credit on Boys Next Door, uncredited on Trick or Treat, Night Watch, Booker, same thing basically. But where Mr. Glenn Morgan differs, and you probably know this, is in 2003, he writes and directs the remake for Willard.
Oh, yeah.
Black Xmas, writer-director in 2006. Yep.
Right. No way. Okay.
The Event, 2011. The River, Those Who Kill, he's a developer on. Intruders, he's a developer on. Rosemary's Baby in 2014. Lore in 2017. Writes on The X-Files in 2018. American Horror Story 2019. Twilight Zone. And most recently, Almost Paradise in 2023. And our last writer is Jeffrey Reddick on the film. He gets a writing credit for the screenplay of Final Destination in 2000. But in 2001, he crafts Return to Cabin by the Lake.
Hey, now we're cooking.
I love those movies
No,
so
they're
much.
so... I guess they're underrated at this point.
Yeah.
I don't hear a lot about them, but I've never heard anybody say they don't like them.
They were on Lifetime. They were on Sci-Fi. They were on USA back in the day, and they got basically left on DVD and have not seen a release since. You can find them on YouTube, so you can watch them. But if you have not seen Cabin by the Lake or Return to Cabin by the Lake with Judd Nelson, really, really fun direct-to-TV movies.
I wouldn't be surprised if part of the problem is there's no film cut.
Yeah.
There's no film print, rather.
I could see
so
that.
you'd have to re-edit them entirely, which can slow
Should
things
ask
down.
Ryan about those, actually. I didn't even think about that. So Jeffrey Reddick also is a story credit on Final Destination 2, Tamara in 2005, Final Destination 3 in 2006, Day of the Dead remake in 2008, he gets screenplay credit on. The Final Destination, he gets character credit on. Final Destination 5, character credit. Good Samaritan in 2014, The Final Wish in 2018, Midnight Texas in 2018, Don't Look Back 2020, A Tale of Dark and Grim in 2021, and most recently, character credit on Final Destination Bloodlines 2025.
Yeah, which comes out really soon.
Yeah, comes out this week. This week.
I don't know what the fuck just happened with you right
was.
there. That was a little worrisome.
Cinematographer on the film is Robert McLaughlin. He gets to start as director of photography on Abducted in 1986, Calgary 88, 18 Days of Glory in 89, Neon Rider, The Beachcombers in 88, MacGyver in 91, The Odyssey in 92, Commission 93, When the Vow Breaks in 95, Strange Luck in 96, Millennium, Final Destination in 2000. He also shoots the High Noon remake in 2000, The Lone Gunman, The One with Jet Li in 2001, Willard in 2003, Tarzan 2003, True Calling, Cursed, King's Ransom, A Little Thing Called Murder, Final Destination 3, Black Xmas in 2006 he also shoots.
Nice.
Bionic Woman in 2007, Dragon Ball Evolution, Harper's Island in 2009, The Boy Who Cried Werewolf 2010, Human Target, The Secret Circle, Westworld series, Game of Thrones, The Affair, Ray Donovan, Batwoman, Lovecraft Country, Shining Girls, American Gigolo series, 1923, shot Yellowstone in 2024, and most recently Landman in 2024 as well.
Yeah, he got into that TV pipeline, and that's smart.
Stop.
I mean, that's where you'll make a lot of money as a director of photography.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he it's clear his trajectory, once the 2000s started, he just kept going up and up and up and up.
I love the fact that he stayed with his writing partners, though, too, and shot their stuff, which is really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
Cast includes Devon Sawa, who plays Alex Browning in the film. He gets a start in 1989 in Unsub, then goes on to do Sherlock Holmes Returns in 93, Nerf commercials, various ones in 93 as well.
I remember that.
The Odyssey in 92, Little Giants, previous episode in 94.
Yes.
Casper in 95, Now and Then, Night of the Twisters, The Boys Club, Wild America, SLC Punk, Idle Hands, Final Destination in 2000, then goes on to be in The Guilty, The Stand music video by Eminem in 2000, Slackers, Extreme Ops, Spider-Man series in 2003, Extreme Dating in 2004.
Whoa!
Devil's Den in 2006, NCIS Los Angeles, Endure, The Philly Kid, Nikita in 2013, A Warden's Ransom, Exorcism of Molly Hartley, Life on the Line, Broad Squad, Punk's Dead, SLC Punk 2 in 2016, Hawaii Five-0, Escape Plan, The Extractors, and then in 2019, alongside the directing of Fred Durst, he stars in The Fanatic.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a terrible movie.
That wasn't bad. Travolta's fun in it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Jarhead, Law of Return in 2019, MacGyver 2020, Black Friday 2021, Magnum P.I., Hacks, Chucky series, Murder in a Small Town, and most recently this year was in 2025's Hard Eyes.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was very well executed in that.
Yeah. Spoilers.
That's a good. Oh yeah. Spoiler alert. Some people die in Hard Eyes. You know what the best part about that is? It doesn't really spoil anything.
No, it doesn't.
Because is he the killer? Is he not? Well,
You don't know. Allie Larder, who plays Clear Rivers in this, gets her start in 1996 on Suddenly Susan, Chicago Suns in 97, Chicago Hope, Just Shoot Me, Dawson's Creek in 98, Varsity Blues 99, Drive Me Crazy, House on Haunted Hill, Final Destination in 2000, Legally Blonde, American Outlaws, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Final Destination 2 in 2003, Three Way, Entourage, A Lot Like Love, Confess, Resident Evil Extinction in 2007, Obsessed, Heroes, Resident Evil Afterlife, The League, Lovesick, You're Not You in 2014, Legends, Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Rookie, Creepshow TV series in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Last Victim in 2021, The Man with the White Van in 2023, Spin the Bottle in 2024, and also recently in 2024, Landman.
Hot damn.
Yeah. Kerr Smith, also playing Carter Horton in this film, gets his start in 97 as As the World Turns, Baywatch in 98, Hit and Runway, The Broken Hearts Club, Final Destination in 2000, CSI in 2000, The Forsaken in 2001, the knockoff vampire movie that wanted to be Lost Boys. You remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah, with Jonathan Shake. The Outer Limits in 2001, Pressure 2002, Critical Assembly, Dawson's Creek, Cruel Intentions 3 in 2004. Charmed, CSI Miami, The Closer, Justice, CSI New York, My Bloody Valentine 3D in 2009, Eli Stone, The Forgotten, Life Unexpected, NCIS, Where Hope Grows, Criminal Minds, Stalker, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Doubt in 2017, The Fosters, NCIS LA, Into the Dark, Pilgrim in 2018. He's the dad.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
Yes, he is.
Riverdale in 2020, and 2021, he was also on The Resident. And bringing up our cast conclusion, naturally, the man we are paying tribute to tonight, the great Tony Todd, who plays William Bloodworth in the film.
Yes.
251 credits on his resume. Not surprised at all, I'm sure.
No, not at all.
Gets his start in 1986 on Sleepwalk, then goes on to be in Platoon the same year. Enemy Territory in 87, 21 Jump Street 87, Colors, Lean on Me, Criminal Justice, Night of the Living Dead 90, Cop Rock, Candyman in 92, then goes on to do Excessive Force in 93.
Do you think it was Night 90 that got him kind of pushed into being a leading man, or do you think
so.
it was Candyman? I mean, obviously they both had an effect.
They're close,
but I'm wondering, like, did that get him Candyman?
I feel like he has a very strong presence in 90, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it probably took attention to that. And I mean, that 90 is probably what got him Candyman.
That's what I mean. Is just like, because obviously Candyman is what like rocketed him to, at the very least in the realm of horror movie fans, being a superstar.
Well, but then I would hope that Excessive Force got him The Crow in 94.
Oh, of course it did. Well, it was no Force on Force, Excessive Force 2.
It was not. You know. It was not. The Crow in 94, Candyman Farewell to the Flesh in 95, which I think is a really, really good movie and does not get enough credit as a sequel, for one.
Maybe that should be your birthday movie.
I mean, I like it that much. I don't know about that.
I mean, we could do Day of the Dead 3.
Star Trek DS9 in 96, The Rock in 96, NYPD Blue, Wishmaster, Star Trek Voyager. We also have Candyman Day of the Dead in 99. Then he does Final Destination, appears on Angel, Smallville, Charmed, Final Destination 2, The Prophecy Forsaken, Final Destination 3, Hatchet, which is one of my favorite roles because him as the voodoo host of the walking tour telling that scary story and being like, and then they slipped and cracked their head on my goddamn curb and sued me to Kingdom Come.
No, he's so good at it. You don't get to see him get to just kind of go off very often.
No.
But when he does,
he's so much fun.
He's incredible. Have you heard the stories about how he does takes?
Mm-mm.
So I had heard from some filmmaker who directed him that if you don't give him any specific guideline, like if you say, let's do one more and see how it goes, you know, if you don't say one more, this time this, if you just said one more, let's go, he'll never do it the same way. He'll assume you want something different. So he'll do it. So if you roll on him 7 times without saying anything,
you get 7 different performances.
I mean, he'll go from like whispering almost the whole thing to like moving a lot to not moving at all to like very serious. They said it's a really interesting way that he works because his thing is he's trying to just kind of find what you like.
Yeah.
I mean, which is an actor's job.
That's one thing that as I was reviewing his resume that I picked up on too, that I was just like, wow, he does have different I mean, he an actor, obviously, but he has different stages of Tony Todd. Like, it's just like, I mean, he can be that over-the-top Tony Todd. He can be the subdued Candyman Tony Todd.
Oh, yeah.
And he can also
does
be
subtlety really well with that deep voice he's got.
And he can also be freaking hilarious like he is in Holliston.
Oh, no, Holliston allowed a lot of those guys to really show off how funny they were.
Yeah.
And I think it benefited Tony Todd and Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
But Kane Hodder didn't do a lot of, he was more of a stuntman initially.
Derek Mears got to shine all over that.
But I mean, Derek Mears was a improv guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had people, even though not a lot, people had seen it. But Tony Todd, we never got to see him be that outrageously funny. I mean, he's truly hilarious. And while I've never like had dinner with the man, I had seen him at many conventions and many shows, and he was always making people laugh.
Yeah.
Very, very funny guy.
I did get to meet him one time. It's been probably a little over a decade, maybe right about a decade. He was at Scarefest once, and I got to meet him.
That's awesome.
Very nice guy.
No, I don't know anybody that had a negative word to say about him, even when he was with us.
Yeah. So he does Masters of Horror, Valerie on the Stairs in 2005, The Man from Earth, Boston Legal 24, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, The Graves, Hatchet 2, Final Destination 5 in 2011, Holliston in 2012.
Yes.
Sushi Girl, The Young and the Restless, which found out he has 18 episodes. Like, he was on 18 episodes, The Young and the Restless as a character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, people wanted to keep him wherever he went. That's why he was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Yeah.
Because he was so well liked. Of course, then the example of being almost too well liked on DS9 would be Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Who ended up playing 2 recurring roles on DS9. Two. Brunt and Wayun. If you know DS9, you'll know, but literally 2.
Yeah.
And even when I got the chance to work with him, we were talking about DS9 because once I mentioned that was one of my favorite things he'd done, he was just like super excited to talk about it. But he mentioned that at one point they were like, "Hey, we're going to make Wayun like a recurring thing." And he was like, "Oh, that's great." And then he got some pages and they were like, "You brought Brunt back?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "But I played Brunt." And he was like, "Well, yeah." And he was like, "So I'm 2 recurring roles this season." And they were like, "Yeah, is that a problem?" He's like, "No, not at all."
Does he get double the pay for 2 recurring?
I mean, I'm assuming you get paid for the day. So he's working twice as much for sure. And you got to remember, he was in both of those characters for at least 4 to 6 hours of makeup too.
Yeah, no shit.
So, but, and he was great in that. But yeah, Tony Todd, I remember when he popped up on DS9 because I was already a fan from the horror movies he had done and stuff. He plays an adult version of Jake Sisko.
Okay.
Captain Sisko's son.
Yeah.
Recounting a thing that happened because they messed with Deep Space Nine's time frames a lot. And he was amazing as the adult Jake Sisko.
Do you remember where you saw him first?
Oh, it had to have been Night 90. It had to have been because Night 90 I saw Night 90 like right when it came to tape.
Mine might have been The Rock, if not Candyman. It's one of those two. Because I remember him in The Rock. He is so freaking vicious in The Rock.
No, he's really good in The Rock. I just Night 90 had to have been it because I saw it so young. Like super young.
I saw 90 after I saw the original because Ghastly Came to Our Town with Creep showed the original right around the time that Texas Chainsaw The Beginning was coming out because I remember that because that was one of the merch things that they had was passing out t-shirts for it. So yeah, he does Young and the Restless in 2013, Victor Crowley in 2017, talking about bringing him back. Mm-hmm. He's literally in a cell phone video in that movie. Death House in 2017, Riverdale, Hellfest, Scream TV series in 2019, Candy Corn, Tales from the Hood 3 in 2020.
Which, I mean, you want to make your little faces, but that was a big step up from Tales from the Hood 2.
But every time I think of 3, what I always think of is the fact that the reveal that the little girl is telling these stories and then the heinousness of one story in particular.
Yeah. All the stories are brutal and gruesome, and one has like very graphic sex.
And racism.
So I just imagine this little girl going, so anyway, he's on top of her, just pounding her and pounding her. And I'm like, how did this little kid, okay, because then the worst part is it's like, well, no, that's not what happened. It's just he filled in the blanks. Like, oh, so he's just fantasizing about sex while talking to each other. That's fine.
That's great.
Too.
That's great.
Yeah. We're good. We're good. Yeah, that's good.
Spoiler alert, Candyman 2021.
Yes. Which honestly
is such a good reveal.
And helped that movie a lot for me personally. The
Flash in 2023, Stream in 2024, and not his last performance, but what I'll credit him with because it's the last one on IMDb at this time. He has by the way, 12 in production right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's got some stuff that's going to come out. Plus, did you see the recent about Cutter's Island finally getting a release?
No.
His 90s horror film that never got is coming out now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
But yeah, Final Destination, Bloodlines 2025. He unfortunately passed November 6, 2024 at age 69. Complications from a very subdued, did not say much about it, battle with cancer, which I believe he had been fighting for about a decade, I want to say.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember seeing a video of him because there was a Tony Todd film festival and he couldn't attend.
Yeah.
And he sent a video in, and I remember seeing clips from that video and just knowing, unfortunately his time was about up.
Well, it's just like, the same thing we're dealing with Reggie Bannister right now.
Yeah.
Which is I'm so sad, but yeah,
good job keeping the vibe up.
I'm sorry, but yeah, Tony Todd, incredible body of work. Rest in peace. This is, so many movies here that I grew up with and influenced me for that matter. So what was your first time seeing Final Destination?
Oh man. Rented it on tape because everyone was talking about it. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And got it probably at the Blockbuster near my house at the time. And I remember even knowing what that you knew what the movie was roughly about. You knew that the plane, that they don't go on a plane that blows up.
Yeah.
But I remember the biggest shock when I watched it for the first time wasn't the plane explode, like them all on it and the fireball or whatever. Cause it just it happens. It's freaky, but whatever.
Yeah.
It was when they were standing in the terminal at the airport and they're all talking. And then all of a sudden the plane explodes in view.
Yeah.
And the windows shatter. That I remember sitting in my living room watching on VHS and going, ah,
yeah.
Like, even though I knew something bad was, because we knew that the whole point
was gonna happen.
Something was going to happen. Part of me didn't think it was going to happen then.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, oh, well, it'll are they going to get halfway home and then find out it exploded over the ocean or something? Nope. It barely makes it out of the airport.
Yeah.
Which makes it so much more visceral and so much more memorable.
Well, and also, spoilers, it blows up earlier in his earlier than his premonition, because in the premonition they get up in the sky, there's turbulence and whatnot, and then all the shit happens. But my first time watching it was my sister had a slumber party, and so mom let her go to Family Video or Hollywood Video and rent whatever she wanted, and I distinctly remember most of the stack of it, if not all of it, which was Undercover Brother, Fear.com, Super Troopers, Crazy Beautiful, and Final Destination.
That is an evening right there. That's a whole mood.
It really is, though. And I remember they had watched Super Troopers first, and I had peeked around the corner and seen some of that. And then they started Final Destination, and naturally couldn't hang out with my sister, but also, like, I was still into horror a little bit at this point. I don't know if I'd fully transitioned into it at this point. And so I was peeking around the corner and looking at the movie, and then, eventually had to stop peeking around the corner. And the next day, my mom had taken her and her friends out, so it was just me at the house, and I watched Final Destination by myself while everybody was gone.
How'd that go?
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
What became more prevalent to me as the movie went on was just, everything can kill you. So like it just became really scary as a kid to just even exist in a house.
It must be so weird growing up without severe crippling anxiety.
Right? Yeah.
I was just like, yep, as everything.
But from that point on, I didn't, I was 8 years old when this movie came out, but from that point on, I was a fan of these movies, even though it probably took me about another 5 or 6 years to finally see them. Like I remember sneaking out of my house to go with my friends to see The Final Destination at the midnight premiere back in the day.
Was that the one that was in 3D,
3D,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it in 3D, but I saw it at the drive-in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that inspired me to go back and watch all of them again.
Yeah.
Because I had watched, that was that the fifth one?
Fourth.
Was that the fourth?
The final is the fourth, and then Final Destination 5.
Maybe it was 5 I saw in the drive-in. Regardless, I had fallen out at some point. I know I had seen Final Destination 2 for sure as a kid.
Was 3 in 3D in theaters, or did it come out in 3D format?
I'm not sure, man.
Because now I'm curious too, because I remember the 3D being huge on DVD, because then you also had the option to change the scenes and whatnot. Like it was a choose your own demise at that point.
Yeah, the Final Destination was in 3D. I don't think 3 was.
It came out on 3. I think it came out in 3D on disc or whatever, because that was the point of like My Bloody Valentine too, probably.
It could be.
But yeah, from that point on, I was hooked. I even have a distinct memory of I had to cram for a college final So I watched all 5 Final Destinations
While you were studying?
while I was doing my work and my project. Like literally started at like probably like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and watched all of them. Was done before 5 because the one thing I love about these movies, not many exceed 90 minutes.
No, they don't tend to overstay their welcome.
Yeah, and
ironically enough.
even Final Destination Bloodlines is the longest so far of the series, and I think it's at like 105 minutes. So I'm excited about that.
So it was Final Destination 5 I saw at the drive-in.
Okay.
And I had not seen, I think it was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Were the ones I missed. Because after I saw 5 at the drive-in, I immediately sought out all of the films because I wanted to catch back up.
Well, and 5, spoiler alert, 5 has that brilliant pullback on ending.
Yeah. It was a
full
great
circle.
ending that made me go, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So getting into Final Destination, we open as we find Alex Browning, who's played by Devin Sawa, and he is at his home packing for the school field trip to go to Europe.
Well, to go to France.
France, yes.
More specifically.
My
There was
apologies.
I don't know if the EU had claimed France yet.
But we also get the we get the idea that he's a little nervous about this. His mom tries to take one of the tags off his bag, and he's like, "No, can't do that. Like it's bad luck." And he just doesn't really have a desire to fly. It sounds like.
Yeah, and I have to say, whoever wrote this film, I mean, well, of the writers,
Yeah.
whoever one of them had substantial generalized anxiety.
I would say so.
Because they were very good at depicting the idea of just being nervous about every single thing around you.
Yeah.
And for that, I commend them. On a rewatch, I was like, man, I'm getting nervous in the plane just by the way he's watching everything that's happening around him.
One of my favorite things is like to add to his distress, I guess, is he goes to the ticket counter and she's like, "Oh, the plane has the same numbers as your birthday."
Yeah, that's weird.
Because flight attendants just say that apparently.
I mean, if they notice it, they would.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, not everybody is like you who just walks in with like a neck pillow and like sunglasses and earbuds. You're just like, whatever, serve me.
There was one time, so I was trying to figure out if when we had flown to Florida, if it was a 9/11 post or pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And my sister reminded me, she was like, I don't know what year it was, but I remember the very small plane that we flew back on. My parents will not let me forget to this day. So I'm like, had to have been single digits, if not like just maybe 10 at most. And we get on to this puddle jumper for our final flight. That was our connect back to Dayton Airport at this point. And we get on this flight. The guy comes on. He's like, we're going to be cruising at this point, blah, blah, blah. And apparently, like, I just spoke up. I was like, I guess we're not getting any drinks on this flight.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
Yeah.
No, the first time I flew alone, I was about, I was 12. 12 or 11. Yeah. Yeah. 11, I was 11
Did you get your wings?
No, I was too old for that.
Ah.
Yeah, they don't really do that. Also, they don't actually do that often anyway. But I remember being handed off to the flight attendants.
Yeah.
And they really did. They kept an eye on me. They seated me with the one other on the way out. There was one other young kid who was flying by themselves.
Yeah.
So they sat us next to each other, which was fine. Because I mean, back then, you were like, oh no, did I pack extra batteries for my Walkman? I only have 3 CDs, bro.
I couldn't even hear. So I had my tape Walkman when we flew to Florida because I remember having the Batman soundtrack and a couple other things. I couldn't even hear. My headphones didn't go high enough once the plane started.
I had that problem.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I had the volume all up. What I ended up doing, I don't remember. I had like a little book of CDs. And I just remember I put on the loudest one I had and I could hear that.
Yeah.
But on the way, this was from Dayton to New Hampshire, no connecting flights to keep things easier for poor little child me.
Yeah.
And on the way out there, I just remembered it being the easiest flight ever. We're up in the air. They're bringing you Sprite. I forget how long. The flight's not long. It's maybe an hour and a half tops, which is awesome because it's a 13-and-a-half-hour drive.
Yeah.
Which is what we normally did.
Yeah, same here.
And I just remember like getting my soda. I remember all this stuff. And the person I was sitting next to was very like talkative. So we were talking and having a nice time and just great. The landing was scary because small planes, landings, everything's worse than a small plane.
Yeah.
So the landing's worse, but whatever. On the way up. Oh, and we got there early because we were with the wind. On the way back, we were against the draft.
Oh, yay.
So the plane just like, we get up there and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'd like a brrr, and the whole plane just vibrated for like 45 minutes straight. And I thought we were all going to die.
Naturally.
And a stewardess walked over and was just like, are you all right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, this is normal.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. This is why the flight's longer on the way home than it is on the way away.
Have a Jack and Coke.
Yeah. Here, why don't you just have a Jack and Coke? And hold on, it's the 90s, so here's a Valium.
Here's a Quaalude.
I just have one left over. It's in a roll like certs or whatever. But it's Quaaludes and Valium. But no, I remember being terrified for that part.
Yeah.
And slowly calming down. I was not I didn't enjoy flying until I was an adult.
I get that.
Because as an adult, it was like, hey, you need to fly somewhere for work. And I was like, oh, cool. Where are we flying? And they were like, JFK to Los Angeles. And I was like, so like the longest flight while still in the United States. And they were like, yep. It's like 4.5 hours in a plane.
Is JFK as chaotic as I've heard it is?
It is pretty, it's huge and chaotic. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And we had to fly out of JFK because that was our airline was serviced out of there. So we get up in the air and I am like squeezing my seat and I'm nervous as shit. And after about an hour, I just got tired of it. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just going to watch this. They had TV you could watch. So I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to watch TV. And I just stopped caring. The landing still gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
Just heading toward the ground can be a lot. But even still, like the last time I flew down to Florida a few years back. I just had a fun time with it. Like I was by myself and on the way I had to connect in North Carolina, and on the way to North Carolina, it was just me. The plane was almost empty. They were doing that thing where they're like, well, some people like to move to the back so we can balance the plane and all that stuff. And I just watched my iPad. I watched movies on it. I was watching airplane movies, which is always a bad idea when you're on a plane. So I highly recommend it.
The last time I flew, my flying to Florida movie was The Warriors. And then my flying back from Florida movie was Eddie the Eagle for the first time.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
That was a recommendation from you.
I watched American Made.
Okay.
And I watched,
Airport.
No, I watched Executive Decision. I watched Executive Decision. And when I was at the terminal for 3 hours, I watched Terminal.
Of course you did.
Because
Why not?
I am hilarious and clever.
Catch a packet.
It was actually the first time I'd ever seen Terminal.
Yeah.
So I actually really enjoyed it. And then I was like, man, now I'm hungry. Because you
gotta go gather these carts now, I guess.
Right? I'd never seen eating a Whopper look so great in my life.
I watched the guy recently. I don't know what his channel specifically is, but he does like food breakdown of movies for the most part. And one of the things he did was figure out how he could scarf the Big Burger down, and he basically realized that they probably didn't have a patty and it was all just like outer, so that when he bit into it, he could bite just through the bread and eat it really quickly.
I don't know why you wouldn't just assume that Tom Hanks is that damn good.
I'm not saying he's not, but
I think he's just that damn good.
I don't know how many takes Spielberg is known for at this point.
I didn't say he swallowed the burger. Do you know that's a common practice?
Oh,
in the bucket they spit it out into because of the amount of takes they have to do.
That's how Bill Murray got super sick on Groundhog Day. He didn't spit. He ate that entire angel food cake and swallowed it.
Yeah. Maria, I believe her name's Maria Sirtis, who played I can't believe I'm forgetting Star Trek names.
Oh,
it's been a long week. But she was on Star Trek: The Next Generation. She played I can't believe myself.
That's
right
okay,
now.
bud.
But she not only when she had to do these few eating scenes, she was like, I have to spit it out. And they were like, well, we're only doing, what was it? They were like, well, we're only doing 4 takes. So you know, and it's the end of the day. And she was just like, have you seen the outfit I fit into on this show? I will not be swallowing any cake that I have not planned to swallow.
Yeah,
which
fair.
I was like, no, I mean, like for real though, like that's a lot for her to, you know, she had to maintain a serious figure on that whole show.
I saw a video recently, and then we'll go back to the movie. Michelle Pfeiffer went to visit the cat suit from Batman Returns, and she was looking at it, and she's just like, I can't believe there was a time.
I mean, I would be fascinated to know what her diet was. I'm assuming like a spray of Pam cooking spray in your mouth in the morning.
She passed out like 3 times in the suit.
And then you lick a power bar for lunch. And then dinner is a hot sauce packet.
Ketchup packet.
She was so thin.
Yeah. I mean, they had to vacuum seal her in it. She passed out like 2 or 3 times, and also had to learn how to use a whip in that thing too.
Yeah. I imagine that was tough.
Yeah.
It was Deanna Troi. I can't believe I forgot Deanna Troi from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm embarrassed.
You've redeemed yourself.
I didn't look it up either. My brain just figured it out.
So we're back at JFK Airport, and
they flew out of JFK.
They're flying out of JFK, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't remember that when I flew out of JFK. I didn't.
That's a good call.
Mother Hubbard.
So, Alex, also, we get to meet some of the other classmates, which includes Clear Rivers. We have Carter, played by Kerr Smith. We have Valerie Luton, who is one of the teachers. We also have Todd, his brother Chad, and then we have Billy, played by Sean William Scott, in a backwards baseball cap.
Hey, my fellow kids, I was Stifler.
Or, excuse me, Todd and George, not Chad.
Okay, yeah.
So, that is when we also have... Devin Sawa is just starting to notice things around the airport. He's still nervous and whatnot, and we also see that Clear is picking up on it, that he's got nervousness. And that's also when Todd decides to ask if he wants to go to the bathroom and take a pre-flight shit.
Yeah, I mean, the altitude could do funny things to a man in his guts. I liked that idea because it's kind of it kind of fills that human need to find patterns. Yeah. It's kind of like deja vu. You know, how it's like, I feel like I've done this before, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I've done this before? So it's almost like the idea is, to me, what I got from this is that all these little things, you noticing them, like your birth date's the same as the whatever. So all these coincidences, because there's some people who don't even believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
That it's like, that was death kind of showing its hand in a way most people don't notice.
Yeah. Because you've got them sitting in the stall. Rocky Mountain High by John Denver comes on. John Denver famously died in a plane crash.
Yes.
And deleted scene, it wasn't on the disc, but deleted scene apparently was they were going to have the girls also in their own bathroom as well. And Clear was going to be reading a magazine with an article on Leonard Skinner.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Yeah. So he, Devin Sawa's character is sitting there and he hears it and he's like, oh, John Denver. He's like, died in the plane crash. That's a little weird.
It would have been like, let's switch the radio over. Hello, baby. It's like, all right, let's just no music.
No music.
No music. We're done.
So they leave the bathroom. They go back out. Devin Sawa was watching the flight boards at this point and he keeps seeing them flip. Some flights are canceling. Again, just building on this tension, on this nervousness. And then finally we move into the plane. And the plane's a bit chaotic. The classmates are all, excited for the trip. We also see that there's a baby on the flight, a mentally challenged person, which prompts somebody to be like, oh, well then, we're safe on this flight. God wouldn't kill a baby or a mentally challenged person.
Yeah. Yeah, God never does that.
No, never at all.
No, sir, no, sir. Well, and that's the other thing, too, is international flights are generally crowded. Like packed.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. It's just packed full of people. You've got a whole high school class. You've got all these different people going to Paris for all these different reasons, some connecting, some arriving. And it does give you this really great sense of the plane because you do see a little bit of everything in an airplane. It's not uncommon to see nuns and clergy and lawyers,
I also
doctors.
Love movie airplanes because they look so huge. Like they look like houses almost.
Well, international flights are really big.
Big. Yeah, because I always think of the first time that I saw Turbulence with Ray Liotta.
Oh, yeah.
That plane is huge.
Well, yeah, because filming in a fake plane.
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories. Well, just about the worst part, Fred Ray talked about this a bit with me one time because he did a couple of airplane movies.
Yeah.
And he said the worst part was the seats because they're all, you can pop them up and move them, but there's so many and it takes forever. So anytime you want a reverse shot, you got to move all those seats, but then you got to find somewhere to put them because if you take them off the plane set, or even sometimes a real plane, but it's whatever, fuselage, if you take them too far away, it takes even longer to set up. And then you'll be like, well, let's stash those away. We won't need them for a while. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, we got this one shot. There's no seats in in the back of the shot. And it's like, oh my God, somebody go find those chairs. And they're not light.
Yeah.
They're real.
Yeah.
So, because people have to be able to sit in them. And it's like, it's tight. You're breathing the same air. You're trying to get air in, but you have lights that are making it hot. I mean, now it wouldn't be so bad with LED lights and stuff. But back then, I mean, you were heating it up. I mean, I remember shooting in houses and stuff back before LED lighting. And we don't have the level of lights. We'd have maybe 4 really strong lights, and we could just in the winter we could just turn the heat off because it would heat the house. All the people with all the lights, it would keep the place warm.
Yep.
So, yeah,
I remember
I would not want to be on a
shooting
plane.
Babysitter that we did that a couple times because the 1,000 watt. My God.
I loved that light. It was so bright.
So bright. And it hurt.
Well, oh, did you touch it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah.
Matt and I both did.
We people used to laugh at me because I'd go to adjust it slightly.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, don't you have gloves? I'm like, of course I have gloves. I'm not using them.
Yeah, you would laugh at me when I put my gloves on and be like, oh.
Oh, look at that. Somebody doesn't have chef hands.
That was literally the one thing they instilled upon us in film school was lighting gloves.
Always have gloves.
Yeah.
If you're working in any capacity on a set. And not just for that, because you just never know when you're going to have to lift up a couch or something. You should just have gloves.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, so I've always heard that filming on an airplane can be pretty awful.
Oh, I bet.
And I mean, obviously, and we're talking airplane set.
Yeah.
We're not even talking a literal airplane.
I mean, they can't look all as impressive as Freddy's Nightmares, that one.
I was almost out. I still don't know why he needed to fly out of Springwood, but hey.
Yeah, it is what it is. So by this point, Alex sits down, and he also is asked by two girls if he can move seats so they can sit closer to this one girl. He abides by it. He goes and sits down. He goes to work on his tray table, but he realizes that the table won't stay up because the button's broken.
Yeah, he pulls the button off. It
Yeah.
just was sitting there. It wasn't actually attached to anything.
And we also, at this point, have had some tension between him and Carter. Carter's kind of a dick. We pick up on that pretty quickly. And so eventually the flight takes off. Everybody's cheering, and they're like, our flight time is this, this, and this. They get up in the air and then hit some turbulence. Makes everybody nervous, and then it kind of straightens out. But then there's a giant hole in the side of the plane as a fire breaks out. The oxygen masks drop down. Fire is sweeping through the plane. We see Alex get it. We see a bunch of his classmates get it. And the last thing that we see is the fire reaching him, burning him. As we zoom out, and we show that he just had a premonition and they're still on the plane.
And he's drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And I want to mention, by the way, if there was ever a way to advertise like you need a surround sound system, it's just just all the airplane crashes in famous movies.
Yeah.
The gray airplane crash, amazing with surround sound.
Oh, the crashes in Speed when we put my Blu-ray on that one night. Holy shit, your sound system.
Yeah, it rumbles everything. You feel like you're in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And Final Destination was no exception
No.
on that. And one of my favorite things is when he realizes what happened, he runs over to where he was sitting.
Where he was going to sit, yeah.
In his premonition, is what he thought was a dream at that point. And the button comes off. So now he knows it's real.
We start hearing some repeats of some things that I think Sean William Scott like coughs on candy at one point, and that also. So he starts freaking out like the plane's going to fucking crash. The plane's going to blow up. And naturally everybody's like, oh my God, what? And Carter's like, hey, calm down. They get into a huge fight. Long story short, they get kicked off the plane.
Well, and it's brilliant, too, because as I was rewatching it, I didn't remember all the details.
Yeah.
He starts screaming, like, if you keep doing this, we'll take you off the plane. But then Carter's just like, dude, stop being a dick. They start fighting. He punches him. It's like, now you're all off the plane because you just punched him, too.
Yeah. So they remove the 5 students. There's the 2 teachers. Luckily, Luton goes over and she explains the situation that they need to have a counselor in the air for the kids, a chaperone, I mean. And so one of the teachers goes back on the plane. Luton is stuck with the students. And like you said, we see Sean William Scott watching the flight take off, and we see Carter and Alex going at it still. And he's just like, you're fucking crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then Sean William Scott looking at the plane as it goes up in the sky.
He goes, bye, have fun in France or whatever. Yeah.
There they go.
And I love that it blows up right when it's almost out of view.
Yeah.
It's like at the last possible second for you to see it happen.
Yeah.
Boom. And it explodes the windows. It's
the fireball kind of hits them a little bit, not much.
It's a huge shockwave.
Yeah.
It's so effective. And it still got me just like it did when I was a kid.
Yeah. No, it's unsettling, but also just even though you expect it coming, like you said, it's just still shocking when it happens.
Oh yeah. No. And I was just so pleased that the movie still surprised me.
Yeah.
Because nothing's better than that. I get no joy out of rewatching something I loved as a kid and it not being as good as I remember it, but I get such a joy out of it getting me one more time.
So naturally, some suspicion is now on Alex. How did he know? How'd they know that was going to happen? And the FBI is called in.
Well, it does make sense.
Yeah.
And, in this film, it's important to point out that it's pre 9/11.
Yes.
Which is why you started wondering if you'd flown pre 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been post 9/11, he would have been able to get off that plane real
quick.
Easy. The moment he said, like, this plane's going to blow up, they'd be like, out
with you.
right now. right now. The Department
Well,
of
like you
Homeland
said,
Security is waiting for
They
you.
would have also had to get there like 4 hours in advance and not gotten through security that easy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've flown out of JFK, and
Yeah.
it was a long line of shoeless people.
So survivors now, we have Alex, Todd, Terry, who is Carter's girlfriend. We also have the teacher, Valerie Luton, Billy Hitchcock, and Clear Rivers. They're all removed from the plane. They all survived this explosion now, and naturally, like I said, the FBI is called in, and they question Alex. But we also have the names of the FBI agents, which we have Agent Shrek and Agent, is it Whiny?
Agent Shrek and, was it Whiny? Now I can't remember.
Ween, maybe, but Daniel Roebuck, who plays Ween, and we also have the great Roger Gouverneur Smith, who plays Agent Shrek in this. Also, it is 2 years before the Shrek animated film comes out.
Yes. And yeah, it was Ween.
Yeah, Ween.
Ween.
And so they're asking him, like, how did you know? And he's like trying to explain his premonition. Immediately, they are suspect of Alex, which, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. And the actor who plays Agent Shrek, Roger Guinevere Smith, I think I'm saying that right. He's a great actor, great character actor. And I mentioned to you when you came over while I was finishing up the movie.
Yeah.
He's so intense in every role I've ever seen him in.
Every role, yeah.
So he's a great, like, off-putting character.
One of my all-time favorites of his, I don't remember the year of it, but there's a movie called Shade that has Sylvester Stallone, Melanie Griffith, Gabrielle Byrne, where he plays a mob enforcer, basically, like the second in command, and he is terrifying, even though he does not raise his voice. He keeps it low the entire time.
Oh,
His
no, that's
intensity is
what I
down.
mean. He's so in 2003.
His eyes are where that intensity is, too.
Yeah, it was 2003.
I love Shade.
No, he's so good. And I first remembered him really from being in Oz, where he played one of the Muslim Brotherhood who was trying to kind of take over the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And he's just, there's something about him. He can so calmly say something that makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's almost like a red herring, except that there is no red. I mean, like, nobody did.
We know who's in this at this point, or who's behind it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, give or take. Yeah. So, but it's a very interesting. He brings this interesting energy.
Yeah.
Which then Tony Todd's character also kind of brings of this like quiet dread, intensity.
And Roebuck, babyface Roebuck in this, as I said, Roebuck has a presence with him that even when he's playing, he plays a lot of cop roles for one.
Yeah.
But even when he plays these roles, he's still so good in delivering, like, is he the good guy? Is he on our side kind of thing? It's just like, with this one in particular, it's like he wants to believe Alex, but he doesn't.
I feel Dan Roebuck, he's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
But I find that his best, like his type, is bureaucrat that you believe actually cares.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of bureaucrats where you're like rolling your eyes. It's like, I have to fill these forms. But if he said, like, we just have to fill these 15 forms and then I'll do everything I can for whatever, you'd be like, I believe you.
Yeah.
Like, let's, he's got a very disarming kindness to him. Even, I mean, even when he played monsters of history, like Jay Leno.
even unpopular opinion, he's one of the best parts of the Monsters movie by Rob Zombie.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think he is absolutely, undoubtedly, the best part of that movie.
I think that movie just has an unpopular opinion.
Whether you like the movie or not, I think you're like, wow, he's so good as Grandpa.
So by this point, Alex is suspect number one. They send him back home, and naturally, everybody has to adjust to the loss of the students. There's a huge ceremony at the school. They have a statue that they dedicate, which they have live music during the statue dedication.
Yeah, which is nice. They're rich enough to go to Paris.
Yeah.
And the real thing is now there's a split between grief, confusion,
and anger,
and wondering if this Mother Hubbard over here is a soothsayer or something.
Clear's the only one that believes him, basically, about the premonition. She's the only one, and she is the weird girl of this group. She's an artist. She's reading all the time, and she's not really friends with anybody.
And is typical with any good horror film.
Yeah.
She's like supermodel hot while being the unpopular nerd girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
So by this point, she's one of the only ones that really believes him. You've even got Todd's father that wants to choke Alex at this point because he blames him for George's death.
Yeah, that's what I mean is like people are trying to figure out, like, is he a soothsayer? Is he some kind of a supernatural cursed being?
Yeah.
And that's something that after years away from it, I kind of forgot that element because you get so obsessed with the idea, like in this film, Luck is Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
So I had forgotten that there's a whole element of people just wondering, like, are you a witch or are you a psychic? Like, what is with you. And then of course it's like, if you saved you and these people, why didn't you save everybody?
Yeah.
Of course, in reality, these would be the same people who were like, just get off the plane, let us go to Paris. It's like he would have happily had everybody stay on the ground, but that wasn't his call.
That wasn't his call. So like it's 39 days later at this point as well when we have the memorial service and we find out that Todd does not have any permission to be near Alex at this point. His dad is strictly forbidding him to be around him. And so this kind of brings a tussle into Alex's life because now he is suspect number one. He's very well known in the community now, but not for a good reason. And he's troubled. I mean, he's troubled with this because now he's trying to figure out, what is going on exactly.
Well, and one thing I love about this movie is that it explores survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
In an unusual way, but still in a way. And I think survivor's guilt is one of those things I wish was touched on more, because I think that it's easy to only focus on victims who are gone.
Yeah.
But to have that moment where you're like, why me and not them? It's a really hard pill to swallow.
No, it really is.
It's a hellish way to live, knowing that you were spared for some reason you'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing is, there's never any closure in being the survivor of a tragedy, especially when it's like you lived and hundreds died.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. But of course, then I'm sure he's also being torn apart by like, was the premonition to save me?
Yeah.
And my friends?
Or what else?
Or what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's really the question is, what is this?
Well, my biggest question is, if most of your class dies, do you automatically graduate or do you actually still have to do studies at that point?
Well, I mean, what is this, that movie about when you're in college, if your roommate
Dead Man on Campus?
Dead Man on Campus.
Oh my God.
It's like the Dead Man on Campus rule. It's like, well, I mean, I imagine they'd be like, well, we really can't have you failing because No Child Left Behind hasn't started yet, but we might lose our funding anyway.
Have you seen the horror version of Dead Man on Campus called The Curve with Matthew Lillard?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
highly recommended.
That's a fun. I haven't heard
Trimark
about that one in
AF
forever.
Yeah.
No, that's a great one.
Yeah. So by this point, obviously, there's tension between Todd and Alex, and he's worried about Todd. And one night he's home alone. He's in his room and he's flipping through a magazine, but then he ends up deciding for a little tug time. So he gets out a porno mag and he's getting ready to do his thing. And then an owl comes out of nowhere and lands on his window, scaring Alex, throwing the magazine into a fan. And that's when we get the beautiful because Todd only has one D in his name. So the magazine hits the fan, shreds everywhere. And then perfect piece of the word today, Todd lands on Salwa's leg.
Now, would an owl stop you?
No.
Or would you just be like, no, like, no, I've trained too hard for this.
I just love the fact that literally they named a character Todd with 1D so they could use that gag.
I don't know how common 1D Todd, but it is a thing. But no, totally.
I mean, you see his house. His parents were not, so poor they couldn't buy another vowel or buy another letter.
Sound like my grandpa when I asked him, do you have a middle name like I do? And he was like, no. Like, why not? He's like, we were too poor to afford middle names in the village I came from. That was what he used to tell me.
Yeah.
I thought he was serious until I was a teenager.
Oh my God.
I was like, what does it cost more? I don't understand.
But Todd, on the other end, is at his home. He goes into his bathroom and he just needs to shave at this point, apparently.
This is such a weird scene because not only does he decide randomly to try and shave himself dry.
Yes.
And I get it. I like a smooth neck whenever possible, and it is very hard to achieve. For those out there of the female variety, I don't know why I said it like that. The hard thing about shaving your face is your hair grows in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
So you have to really learn the grain of your face, and even then you may not be able to get it all.
Yeah.
So I understand like walking in the bathroom and being like, oh, that's a little scratchy. I'll just get that. But he picks up a safety razor.
Mm-hmm.
This is a common misconception. A safety razor is not one of those razors with the blade encased in plastic.
Yeah.
That is not a safety razor.
No.
That's a disposable razor.
Yeah.
A safety razor is a little metal handle that holds one
blade,
razor blade. And you can get an incredibly close shave with one of those if you know what you're doing. I actually really like safety blade shaving.
Yeah.
But when I saw that razor, my first thought was, is that his dad's? Because like, who wasn't just handed a Gillette when you were a kid? But also he goes to shave dry with it, which you cannot do because with a Gillette razor or whatever.
Yeah, with the plastic.
With those plastic
you're
ones,
protected.
they often have those little
gel strips,
something or other.
Yeah.
But he goes completely dry, so he immediately cuts himself. But I just could not stop. Couldn't get over the whole safety razor. Okay.
So cuts himself. That's the first part.
Right.
And then at this point, he's also knocked something over into the sink. But what he doesn't realize is that his toilet mysteriously starts leaking blue water.
Well, are you not familiar with the? Oh, you're not, are you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it was more popular back then.
Yeah.
But we used to have these thingies. They could either be attached to the side of the bowl
you're talking
or
about
in
that
the tank.
Yeah,
that would keep the water
the
clean.
cleaner, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the tank was blue. That was my
that makes
assumption was the water was blue, and which is also smart because it made it easier to see on camera.
Yeah.
But no, I remember, like it was always like older people's houses. I'd go there and I'd be like, the toilet water's blue.
I was to say, we had that at my parents' house. I mean, I think mom would usually just put the thing in there, but I've seen the ones on the side that are also clipped in.
Well, I think there's one you can put in the tank. I don't know. I just bleach my toilet every week or so.
I do too as well.
But why do you bleach my toilet? I already do it.
Not your toilet, my toilet.
Oh, sorry. Maybe be a little bit more specific next time.
So by this point, we also get a bunch of fake outs. There's an electric radio. There's other things that they're just going around this room that are just like, could it happen this way? Could it happen this way?
Great example of what it's like to live with the constant anxiety of death.
Yeah. So he finally ends up slipping on the water, and in doing so, knocks all the shampoos down in his tub. As he lands into the tub, a clothesline wraps around his neck and starts completely choking him and hanging him. And he can't kick because the shampoo is there, and he also can't get to these scissors to cut it. And the thing I love about this scene that is also so haunting is his eyes start going super bloodshot.
Oh, yeah. No, they show what's causing his death.
Yeah.
And I do love the fake outs.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that you think it's going to be this way and you think it's going to be this way and then it's this way. That was actually why when I saw Final Destination 5 in the theater, after I saw how great and fun it was, it might have been you. There was somebody, no, it probably wasn't you, but there was somebody I talked to. No, there was somebody I talked to. I said like, wow, that was really great. And they were like, oh, you need to see the other ones, because it's been wild, like at least 4.
It very well could have been me because I was a big pusher for these movies.
Yeah. I just don't think we were that close of friends in 2011.
We were leaning because that would have been Babysitter was shot 2012.
Yes.
Yeah.
The end of 2012.
Yeah, end of 2012.
So maybe. Yeah. But either way, I just remember being told, hey, that one's, the other ones are really good too. Because I think I'd only seen 2 at that point. That was what made me want to go see it. I was like, damn, they are not messing around. Like it's kind of like how those later Saw movies, no matter how you felt about the story, they still went all out and coming up with the contraptions.
They absolutely did. No, I will defend the Saw movies except for Spiral, which Spiral I don't hate. It's just I really had a lot of promise for that movie and was let down.
He hates it.
I do not hate it. But anyway, so back to Todd. His eyes are going bloodshot. He is trying to cut this wire, can't get to it. Alex is approaching his house more and more, but by the time he gets to it, Todd's dead.
Yeah.
And then we get to the only instance of this happening in any of the Final Destination series. Death basically undoes the water slip and sucks everything back into the toilet, making it seem like it was a suicide.
Well, and I think that, I know you said like this is the only time Death covered its tracks. Yes and no, because this was just the only one that definitely looked like a suicide. The others, at first
look like accidents,
and then start to look like Devon Sawa's committing murder.
Yes.
So
the teacher's wackity-schmackity death.
Oh my God.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, it's so good.
So by this point, his death is ruled a suicide. His dad straight up tells Alex that he does not want to see him anymore, calls him a murderer, and says that it's all his fault.
Yeah, he says that like my son was so distraught with guilt that he killed himself. And it's like, why would he kill himself? He makes a really good point. He says like, we were making plans.
Yeah.
Why would he tell me all these things and then kill himself?
Yeah. So by this point, Alex and Clear have spoken a little bit more on it, and they get the idea that they're going to sneak into the funeral home to examine Todd's corpse. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get our honorable cameo of the late, great Tony Todd as William Bloodworth. They break into the...
What a name, too.
I know. They break into the mortuary. They're looking for his body. They find his body, but it doesn't look anything like him at this point because of the strangulation. And that's when William Bloodworth comes in and tells them that he basically knows who both of them are, knows Alex by name. And, I mean, at this point, he goes into this monologue about how you cannot change the path of death.
Yeah.
When death comes for you, it comes for you. And if it misses you, it's still going to come back. Because one of my favorite lines is that that's one Mac Daddy you don't want to fuck with.
Well, and he's a great it's a great pivot moment to make you understand what's going on without like totally spelling it out, because who is going to have more of an opinion of death than the guy at the mortuary who sees dead people every single day?
In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, no escapes.
It's a damn fine scene.
Yeah. And I mean, that is basically where we get the idea that Tony Todd is death in this franchise. But I have some trivia at the end that may or may not change that for us.
I'm very curious.
So by this point, Alex is realizing that now death is coming for them, and he's got to figure out what the order is that they died in the premonition, because there is a change to that. And also, they're discussing their next move. They end up going to a cafe, and that is when we see Kerr Smith is out with his girlfriend. We see that Sean William Scott's riding by on his bicycle. One thing leads to another, and Carter decides to run. Oh God, I can't think of his name. In the what is his name? Is it Billy?
You're talking about Devin Sawa's character?
No. I know Alex. I think it's Billy. Is Sean William Scott? Yeah, Billy Hitchcock.
Yeah, Billy
runs Billy off his bike. And all while this happens right in front of Clear and Alex, also Val Luton, their teacher, comes out. So now all the survivors are gathered on a corner.
And have we appreciated yet Val Luton?
Val Luton. Oh, I've got the whole list at the end.
Is that okay? Good.
Yeah, I've got
Val
the whole...
Luton. That's a deep cut, but a good cut.
I'm guessing you didn't hear the other teacher's name. Murnau.
What was it?
Murnau. M-U-R-N-A-U.
Oh, yeah, that one doesn't ring a bell for some reason.
I think that's the director of Nosferatu.
Oh, really?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Huh. Well, and then, I mean, Shrek was the name of Max Shrek.
There's a lot, yeah. So by this point, they're at the cafe. They've all caught up, and his girlfriend, Carter's girlfriend, is freaking out, and she's just like, if this is what you're gonna do, like, I don't want to be a part of it, and this is how you're gonna waste your life. Then you can both drop fucking dead, which is the famous line as she walks into the street and gets ran over by a bus.
And it's a great example of, so you thought you understood because we had this long drawn out thing, but also just get you. And it sprays Alex with blood, who also now has a 7 on his face if you look really closely. Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So after watching a news report on the cause of the explosion, Alex then deduces that death is reclaiming the survivors in the order that they took on the plane, and now he's realizing that it's coming to Miss Luton. So Luton has, by this point, decided that she is leaving town. She's left the school, and we cut to her house, and she's packing. She's talking to her psychiatrist on the phone. And everything that happens in this scene, my God.
This is honestly probably the most memorable.
Most famous, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I would say.
So we see that she is uneasy. She's drinking some tea. She finishes her tea, and she puts some new one on. And one thing I forgot to mention so far is that every time death is sneaking into these people's lives, we get like a black cloud-like figure of it almost.
Like a shadow.
A
shadow with nothing casting
kind of like
it.
Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
You say that about every movie.
I do.
Every movie. No, yeah, kind of. I would agree.
So Luton is packing up her stuff. She hangs up with her psychiatrist, and she wants to make more tea. So she goes to the stove, puts another teapot on, and by this point, she realizes that she's not in the mood for tea because she gets spooked again. And so she goes to the closet, grabs a record to put on that just so happens to be Rocky Mountain High by John Denver.
Oh, boy.
And since she got spooked by, I think it's like a spider or something in her glass, she decides that she's going to switch from hot tea to vodka.
From her freezer.
Which automatically cracks the mug as she's pouring it.
What a cheap mug.
So she's walking around her house. The vodka is just dripping on the floor. She doesn't realize that it's cracked at this point, and also goes over to start packing up her computer. As she's holding the mug over, the water drips, or the vodka drips into the computer and starts shorting it out. She goes back to packing another box, and also by this point too, Alex is walking somewhere around the neighborhood, and we get another premonition of ashes. Ashes surround him, and he knows that something's up.
Yeah, not just ashes, they're like ember ashes. They're freshly like lighting up. They're on fire currently.
So by this point now, Alex realizes that she's in danger. He was probably already walking over there for that matter too, and he rushes over, but Luton is packing a box. She hears her computer short out, goes up to it, and right behind her is the shot of her front door, which is the glass design of a dagger.
Yes.
Which just so happens to be very good foreshadowing as the computer monitor burst, sending a piece of shard right into her neck.
Yes, which, I mean, guess it was Adele.
So when the computer shorts out, naturally, it also catches all the vodka on fire that is dripped. So now fire is going up to her, and by this point, she is bleeding from the neck. She slips onto something that I think it might be the vodka or something. I can't remember. There's so much that happens.
Yeah.
So she's reaching up, trying to, she pulls the shard out of her neck, and that's when she decides that she's also going to pull this towel up that is over this knife rack.
She's trying to put it on her,
yeah, put it on her neck.
wound,
on her
because now she's laying on the floor.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, just real quick, that I know you were talking about like vodka probably wouldn't light up like that.
I don't think it would.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my response is, in this film, death kind of uses cheat codes a little bit,
yeah.
You know? But
the Rube Goldberg cheat codes.
Yeah, I said this ghost, also known by the other name Rube Goldberg. Well, the other, if I had written this scene,
yes,
I would have had her be like, I would have had her open the freezer, pull out the vodka bottle, have it be empty, and then she'd go and grab a box. Like the side that just said like "From Mom with Love," and it just says like Kentucky on the address or something, and have her open it up and it be Shine.
Yeah,
that would be my way to fix that. But of course, that would make the scene a lot longer.
Yes.
When what we really need to do is talk about getting that towel off of the. Oh my God! It's
so by this point, she's fallen on the ground, which also skipped the record, which made Rocky Mountain High start over. So she's also trying to get this towel off the knife rack. Naturally, it's sitted right over the knife rack to where she pulls it down. The knife rack goes and she gets rained on by blades, one specifically right into her chest.
Right into the middle of her chest.
And by this point, Alex has gotten into the house. He's like, how can I help? And
she's just looking at like, because she's dying.
Yeah, and then the fire is caught up to the oven, which makes the oven explode.
Yes.
And then knock a chair down that hammers the knife into her chest, killing her.
Which that it was like a vampire movie. The chair tips over and just digs it deeper in. But what does he do? And I will say, you got to give his character a little bit of a break. He's a kid. He's supposed to be like 17 or 18 years old. So the first thought he has is he pulls the knife out of her chest trying to help, but now he's standing in the middle of the kitchen with a bloody knife,
dead teacher.
And as he walks out, you see his footprints in the blood.
Yes. And then by this point also, Billy is riding past the house on his bike. Alex comes running out of the house explodes, knocks both of them to the ground, and now the cops have him by near another body.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
It's not looking great.
It's starting to look like, I believe what they determined, they were saying that his survivor's guilt had pushed him to kill.
Yeah. And it gets worse because they interrogate him again, and he basically says, the longer you keep me in here, somebody else might die. But what if we keep you in here and nobody dies, is basically the question.
Which
at
I
that
did
point.
love. That's a great line.
But they have nothing to hold him on, so they have to let him go. So by this point, everybody is nervous. Carter's nervous.
He had bloody shoe, what did he have, OJ's lawyer? Come on.
Apparently. So Carter, Clear, Billy all end up meeting in Carter's car as they're all driving, and that's when Alex is trying to explain to them that there is a pattern, but he won't say who's next, because Carter wants to know. Carter is fucking scared at this point. He's just like, I can't die, but like, who's next on the list? And he will not tell him. And he's like, it's me, isn't it? So there's a whole scene where Carter has them speeding in his car. He's playing dangerously and trying to go past traffic, ending with them parking on the train tracks.
Which, why not?
Why not?
Right, come on.
So everybody gets out of the car, of course, because the train is approaching, except for Carter, who's just like, I can't die, and if I am going to die, then I want to be the one in control of it.
Well, he does say something great right before his girlfriend dies, where he says, like, I'm never going to die. Yeah. And I was like, wow, teenager just saying what they think. And
so by this point now, he is also the only one left in the car and stuck with his seatbelt because his seatbelt will not unbuckle. And the train is approaching and approaching. Finally, Alex pulls him loose from the car. They all hit the ground. The car gets smashed by the train, and they're fighting. You've got Billy, who is freaked out by this point, and he's just like, I'm not going to be near any of you guys before. Well, all this is happening. We see a piece of metal, a jagged piece of metal on the train tracks, just flipping up and down while the train goes past.
Bit, yeah.
And then a wheel hits it, spins it, and Billy gets decapitated.
Straight up head cut off.
Head cut off, falls to the ground. The corpse is standing in that classic fashion for a couple seconds and then topples over. And
I want to point out that so far, the deaths in this film have been consistently different from each other, because you have obviously the plane explosion, but then you have the quasi-suicide, which is strangulation, which was very slow, drawn out, and gruesome. Then you have the teacher getting stabbed through the heart. It's very gruesome, in your face, visceral.
Yeah.
But I would say very different. You had the bus, just before that, you had the bus smashing the girl out of nowhere, really startling.
Yeah.
And now you have just an out of nowhere decapitation. Yeah. And I love that because it keeps you really on edge.
It does.
Because you're like, okay, so it can either creep up on you or just bam.
Just happen. Just happen. And I mean, and as we get further into the movies, that happens way more, where it's just like the deaths are one shots. There's no Rube Goldberg of this pipe going there. It's just like, oh no, this thing broke loose and impaled you.
They usually go the most on that in the opening.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. Which the opening is, of course, the The premonition.
The premonition, yeah. So now Alex is completely paranoid. He's also talked to Clear by this point. There's a really cute scene where he goes to see Clear, who is working on, she does like shop work and like does like steel sculptures, and actually has sculpted Alex because she basically says like, I look at you and like we used to be close, but like I didn't know you for so long. And then that night at the airport, I felt like I understood you again. But you also still confuse me. But by this point,
chicks are weird.
But by this point too, Alex is completely paranoid. And he has isolated himself from everybody in this cabin that he is fortified. He's duct taped everything so that it doesn't fall down, lamps.
And I gotta say, his level of care, perfect for a teenage boy. He's putting duct tape against all the things on the side of the wall to keep it all there. And
the edges are taken care of.
He's eating 1 can of cat
food with gloves.
He puts on gloves to do anything.
Yep.
It's and he has a fire extinguisher right next to where he's sitting.
Yeah.
And even still, wasn't it a fishing pole?
Yeah,
falls over and starts opening a door.
Death is a catty bitch and blows into the cabin, knocks over a trash can, which knocks over a can that goes into a fishing pole that falls over and hooks the door handle.
He holds it shut, and a blade comes
through like a scythe.
Apparently, that whole closet was just full of death implements.
Yeah, fish hooks, a scythe. God knows what else is in there. And he basically tells Death, "I got you. Like you can't get me. I got you." You may not be able to get me right now, or you may be able to get me later, but you can't get me right now. I got this place fucking sealed up.
Yeah, which it's adorable. He thought that this was,
So, as we get to the conclusion of Final Destination, he is in this cabin. He's shooting paper wads, and we also see that Clear is back at her house, home alone this night. And a storm starts moving through, so he throws one ball of paper, and it leads him to his yearbook where he sees the 2 girls that swept seats, revealing that he did not. So his order is off now, and now he realizes that Death is going for Clear.
Yes, and it's clear.
It's clear
as day.
Clear as day. So as he's running out of the cabin, the FBI agents have actually arrived at this point, and he gets into a canoe and escapes the authorities on a canoe.
For as serious as this whole situation is, him escaping on a canoe with a paddle is very funny to me.
Especially since they have guns drawn, and they easily could have stopped him.
Well, luckily, Roebuck, as I said, the trustworthy bureaucrat in any film, was like, no, we'll just get in the cars and we'll drive around. We'll catch him over there. It's like, you don't know that he's done anything. Don't shoot him.
So Clear is at her house, and she is in her bedroom. A candle suddenly blows out, and we start to hear some shorting out, so she goes out of the bedroom, and at this point, the bedroom just catches fire.
Yeah, dope.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So everything starts catching fire in her house, and by this point, Alex has somehow made it across the lake in record time and is approaching her house. He goes through the woods, ends up tripping, almost getting impaled by a log at one point.
Yes. Oh, man, that's one of those moments I always remember, too. He rolls down a hill, stops right in front of a big splinter.
Which reminded me of Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and that's basically what this movie is missing is Del Griffith.
It's the only thing it's missing. I'm going to get you back to Chicago and away from death.
So he gets to Clear's house. By this point, a live wire has broken loose and is going everywhere. Clear is in the backyard trying to save her dog, and by doing so also breaks her pool, which now has water going all over the backyard. So now the live wire is getting ready to touch the water. She ends up missing it just barely and is like clinging to a, what do they call it? What's the thing on the side of the house that you can climb?
A trellis.
Trellis. Mm-hmm. So she's clinging to a trellis. By this point, Alex has arrived. He's like, I'll take care of it. She gets back into her house, somehow gets into the garage, is getting it ready to drive the car out. The garage door fails. The wire breaks loose again in the garage. It's a crazy ass scene.
It's an incredible scene. And I apologize. I lost my concentration because I just started thinking of Del
Griffith.
Like, Del, what are you doing here? My wife's been gone for 9 years. I was supposed to be in that car too, but I'd eaten some clams and they weren't settling right. So I told her I'd catch up with her. Anyway, sorry.
Here's
my
an
brain
idea.
is broken.
The next time Death's coming for you, have a point.
Okay? It's so much better for the person you're trying to kill. Like, am I going to die because the mouthwash is flammable, or am I going to die because the bed's electric and you got beer all over it?
Planes, Trains, Final Destinations.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles to your final destination.
So she gets the car out. By this point, also, the wire has now gone right by the car, and he's like, stay in the car. The rubber's grounded. Like, you're good. I'm going to take care of this. He grabs the wire. It blows him back in the garage. The power completely gets shut down by this point, and everybody's safe.
And this part, I had actually forgotten how the movie ended somewhat.
Yeah.
I forgot that like it all happens like that, because the concept of him dying. But then getting resuscitated to full death, because I had seen all the sequels.
Yeah.
My brain was like, no, death is way too pernicious. Oh, we haven't established that yet.
Yeah.
We haven't established that death is impossibly pernicious.
Yeah.
That's in the sequels.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's like
catty.
So in this one, it's like a technicality.
Yeah. So we get a fake out. We see that like there's a white light, but then we see that they're exiting an airplane, and that's when we see that it's 6 months later now, and Alex, Clear, and Carter have finally traveled to Paris.
Yay!
So they're enjoying some beers at a local place. There's some atmosphere going on, and it's a good time. Except for Alex is still unsure, and he reveals that he thinks that death never skipped them, because after saving Clear, he's now kind of restarted everything.
And why would he be worried? I mean, everything's going great. They're in Paris. He and Clear are both blonde now for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, everything's coming up good.
And then the guitar guy behind them that was playing some other song starts playing a French version of Rocky Mountain High.
Yep.
And we also see that a pipe is rolling across some scaffolding that knocks over all these nails.
Yeah, we see a lot of trap ass shit happening.
We do. As a bus is coming closer as well, we see that Alex is uneasy. He's like, I'll meet you guys back at the hotel. And Clear's like, no, I'll go with you. He's like, no, stay here. And as he's walking out of the street, Clear gets his attention. The bus barely misses him. In doing so, goes off path, runs into a car, runs into this sign. This sign gets knocked loose, and it's getting ready to head right for Alex. Carter comes in and pushes him right out of the way, and that's when he's like, I told you, like, we're okay. And he's like, no, it wasn't me. And he's like, well, then who is it? As the sign swings back 180, and that is 2000's
cuts to black.
Final Destination.
Yes. And like I said, solid ending. But after seeing all the sequels, I forgot that the first one had such a quaint ending, basically, that he cheats death by dying, but coming back. And then, Carter gets it in a 180 sign that literally says 180 as it comes back which is their flight number, which is another, they hide so many great little tidbits in there.
So would you like to know what the budget was on the film?
Yes.
$23 million.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable.
Opening weekend is March 19th of 2000, takes in $10 million. U.S. gross ends up being $53 million.
Yeah.
Grossing worldwide $112 million.
Not bad. Especially back then, that would definitely be considered a hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Filmed in Vancouver, Victoria, Canada. Filming began January 11th of 99 and wrapped May 28th of 99 with one pickup shot in November, I want to say.
Nice. Yeah, that's... It's crazy because like that's actually a pretty expensive horror movie for that time period, especially, and it really paid off.
Yeah. So the story was originally going to be a concept for an episode of The X-Files, which was inspired by Soul Survivor, the movie you told me about from '84.
I love Soul Survivor. Extremely underrated.
I need to check it out. In this movie, still have not seen it.
Should borrow my Blu-ray.
Oh, I should. Yeah. In this movie, a woman who was a sole survivor of a plane crash starts to be haunted by dead people that death uses temporarily as vessels, trying to kill her to correct its plan and killing everyone who's suspected.
Yeah, and for those trying to say it's a ripoff, I wouldn't call it a ripoff because Soul Survivor is it's very different. Death is in these like zombie-like beings.
Yeah.
It's basically in Soul Survivor, anyone who dies, anyone can now become this vessel trying to kill the people that were
it's almost like don't
cheated.
kill it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
In the first draft of the script, the survivors that get off the plane were 7 strangers. Due to teen slashers' popularity at the time, the survivors were changed to high school students.
That makes sense. Yeah.
A miniature model of a Boeing 747 airplane was created for the explosion scene. The model, one of the most detailed miniature scenes in the film, was about 10 feet long and 7 feet wide. The landing gear was made from all machined metals. According to visual effects supervisor Ariel Vascello Shaw, the miniature had to be launched about 40 feet up in the air to make it look like a real Boeing 747 exploded into a fireball. If blowing up a 4-foot plane, the explosion must be a minimum of 8 feet in the air. To film the explosion in detail, the crew used 3 cameras running 120 frames per second and 1 camera running 300 frames per second. Wow. If they had filmed using a real-time camera, the succession of the explosion would not be filmed in particular order.
Well, and it's important to keep in mind that when things get smaller, the mass decreases. So the bigger something is, the slower it is able to move. So there's actually, I don't know it, but there's Brett Piper actually taught me this. He's a guy who's all about stop motion animation and miniatures and stuff like that. He taught me that you can do a mathematical equation for what frame rate the camera should roll at in order to create the mass of the object.
Okay.
And it's why one of my favorite examples of this is when Godzilla roars in the old Toho movies, I'm sure you probably remember that there's always that moment where you're like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And he goes, the reason for that long wait is because they had to speed the camera up to make him look like he has mass.
Yeah.
So when the actor in the suit is told like, now roar, that's going to happen like 7 seconds later because time is way, way faster or slower rather.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
287 people die in Flight 180 disaster. The plane was built on a gimbal to make it shake. The plane set was later torn down and changed to Clear's top floor, which she runs through in the storm sequence.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The flight charter board in the airport was not part of the scene. It was a CGI effect.
Oh.
When everyone stares at Alex after the plane explodes, both Terry and Billy's deaths are foreshadowed. While Terry is staring at Alex, there's a picture of a bus in the background.
Oh my God.
While Billy is looking up at the plane taking off, the reflection of the plane is shown across his face. It is flying in line right where the piece of car decapitates him later in the film.
That's perfect.
Much of the news footage shown is actual footage from the July 1996 explosion and crash of TWA Flight 800 off East Morches, Long Island, New York.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Alka-Seltzer sequence, which follows Terry getting hit by the bus, had to be extended as test audiences were still recovering from shock.
Yeah, that is. Now that you mention it,
it's long.
It's a bit long. Yeah, which makes sense. It gives them a second to catch their breath and figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. On his way to Mrs. Luton's house, Alex sees ashes floating around his head, foreshadowing the fire. The exterior of Miss Luton's house was built in 5 days. The residents of Vancouver didn't want the filmmakers to blow it up as they thought it was a nice house.
That's the most Canada thing I've ever heard in my life.
Seriously,
hey,
though.
Do you have to blow it up, eh? It's pretty nice, eh?
The piece of glass that went into Miss Luton's neck was from the computer was done backwards. They shot the glass being yanked away from her neck with a line, which was digitally erased. Actress Kristen Cloak was put under a fake wooden floor with silicone body on top. This was so the knife could impale the character without injuring the actor.
I mean, that's one way to do it. No, that's why it's so effective, because you really see it just go
in. Yeah. The train scene in which Carter's car is smashed by the train was one of the most difficult scenes to shoot. The car used for the crash was a replica of the original, severed in half prior to filming. According to Sonderhoff, in order to ensure the safety of the actors, they had to make sure that there was no real sheet metal in the car.
I mean, that is absolutely true.
Yeah,
that would be really hard to do safely.
In the opening scene, Devin Sawa was supposed to pretend to be asleep. He actually fell asleep for 4 hours.
Well, good for him. Get your rest, King.
While Alex is sitting in his bedroom reading a magazine, an owl lands on a tree branch outside the window. In many cultures, owls are viewed as omens of death. The scene where Carter elbows...
That makes sense, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, who's going to die? Who? Oh, no.
The scene where Carter elbows Billy in the car was added in because the day of shooting, Sean William Scott had a sore lip. To hide it, the makeup team added blood, and the end result was of Carter elbowing Billy.
That's a nice way to hide that.
Yeah.
That's smart.
In the last scene at the cafe, the sign that breaks free from its holding brackets spells 180 in reverse.
Which is the name of the flight.
Yep.
That was one of my favorites, because that one I really caught.
Most characters in the film are named after filmmakers or stars from black and white horror films. Terry Chaney was named after Lon Chaney, Todd Wagner after director George Wagner, Alex Browning after director Todd Browning, Larry Murnau after director F.W. Murnau, who directed Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, Agent Schreck after Max Schreck, who played in Nosferatu, Blake Dreyer after Carl Theodore Dreyer, who directed Vampire, Howard Siegel after Don Siegel, who directed Dirty Harry, Billy Hitchcock after Alfred Hitchcock, and Valerie Luton after horror film producer Val Luton.
Why did you be like Hitchcock after Bucky Hitchcock, who owned a chain of chicken restaurants in the 1960s?
Considering his extensive knowledge of death's design and how it works, many Final Destination fans have theorized that William Bloodworth is the human personification of death, or at least some kind of representative for death. However, both Tony Todd himself and Final Destination producers have denied that being true. So for the purposes of this theory, Bloodworth is a human being with no known connection to death itself.
See, well, yes and no.
Yeah.
See, to me, he had a poetic connection to death, not a literal one.
Yeah.
Because he sees death all the time. So he would have a better understanding of death, in that he could be like, I see every type of person come through here. I see everyone. I see people who, jog 5 miles a day and eat only lettuce, die of heart attacks. I see, everything. I see people who are 80 years old and did nothing but cocaine and fried chicken their whole lives, and they made it to 81 and died, peacefully in their sleep.
You just never know.
That's what the vibe I got, was not that he was literally supernatural. He was, and his creepy tone helps the movie.
Yeah.
It really sells a lot of the fear.
I mean, like I said, he's in the movie for 4 minutes, if that. And steals that entire scene.
Oh God, yeah.
The DVD features the following deleted scenes: a love scene between Alex and Clear on the beach, a pregnancy test which reveals that Clear is pregnant from having sex with Alex, and a third ending where Alex is electrocuted and dies. After having their child, Clear has the gift of seeing death before it happens. Carter also survives.
This was a New Line movie, right? You know why they cut out the pregnancy test, right?
Was that?
Oh, somebody there. It was probably Bob Shea. Bob Shea was like, do you remember Nightmare on Elm Street 5? Because what they learned from that movie was teens don't want to go and watch a movie about an accidental teen pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't.
The opening of 5 is still one of my all-time favorites because it's just so unlike any of them.
Oh, for sure. No, there's a lot to like in 5, even for all of its drawbacks. But I've always heard that was the big thing, was people were like, yeah, the teenagers don't want to come and see a movie about the penalties of teen sex.
They do not. And finally, the film had major impact on the horror film audience, earning the Saturn Award for Best Horror Film in 2000. Sawa won the Saturn Award for Best Performance by a younger actor the same year, and Larder won the Young Hollywood Award for Breakthrough Performance by a female.
Oh.
So what are your final thoughts on 2000's Final Destination?
I mean, it's at the very least a rent it, but if you're a horror movie aficionado, this movie has become a classic, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
And it's spawned an incredible amount of sequels. I think that the best thing to do is buy a set.
Yeah.
So you can have all of them, because even if the other ones degrade in some degree of like own it quality, having it all in one package just guarantees that if you ever really need a good excuse to eat a bag of popcorn, you're set.
I mean, the impact of Final Destination is the fact that what is the number one scene that anybody remembers from the entire series? The log truck, which is in 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
every time I see a truck full of logs, I'm like,
I don't think so.
I'm gonna get a slow lane for a little while.
No, I mean, it is a rent it with a caveat to buy it, because this is a very important franchise in horror cinema, but not just horror cinema entirely. I mean, it was. This ran for a long time in the sense that it was a very popular franchise and still is. We're getting a sequel literally the end of this week.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it the following week.
Yes, we will. But yeah, I mean, this is a very important film. And also, as we've, made this episode as an honor to Tony Todd, he is great in this. And he's not in it very much, but just again, that presence. I mean, he was a character actor that had a body had a body of work that went so many decades. And never did I tire of seeing him in anything, for that matter.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It was like bringing in a ringer. We need this scene to be chilling. Let's get Tony Todd in here.
Yeah. I mean, literally, his appearance in the Scream TV series, which is, I think, season 3. Again, another one of those cameos. There's just like, holy shit, that's Tony Todd.
Oh, he's great in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so good.
I like the season 1 and 2 more, because 3 was actually a revamping. But he was my favorite part of it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. So we always like to end the show with a couple recommendations. This week I have 2, starting with 2018's Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, rentable currently on Prime and Fandango. A harmless game of truth or dare among friends turns deadly when someone or something begins to punish those who tell a lie or refuse to dare. I really love that movie.
Yeah, I need to revisit it. I remember when we walked out of the theater, I was like, damn, all right.
Good.
Dark ending, too.
Well, it has Final Destination vibes to it all throughout.
It totally does. I mean, the idea of some unseeable force getting revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that very little, anything that I'm not thinking of right now that did it first, Final Destination did it in the most memorable possible way.
No, it absolutely did. And my second recommendation, kind of a stray for this one, but I think the general idea of not trying to die when death is for sure, 2022's Fall. Currently available on Tubi. You can also rent it on Prime and Fandango. When a high-rise climb goes wrong, best friends Becky and Hunter find themselves stuck at the top of a 2,000-foot TV tower. If you are afraid of heights, do not watch this movie.
Or if you're like me, if you are afraid of heights, watch this movie immediately.
On a giant screen.
Yes,
alone. My God, dude. Some of the shots in this movie are... Ugh.
Oh, no, it's brilliant.
So good.
In the theater, it was an incredible experience. I get nervous thinking about it.
We're getting a sequel at some point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fall harder.
Fall harder. So what's your recommendation?
My recommendation, we actually alluded to it earlier. It's 1984's Soul Survivor.
Good pick.
Because this is such an underrated, great film. The IMDb synopsis is: a lone survivor of a plane crash is haunted by a feeling unworthy of survival. Dead people start coming after her to collect her. And that's pretty much it. It's just the way it's done is so creepy and simple and scary. You see a very, very young Brinke Stevens in it. This was like right after she did Slumber
I
Party
remember you
Massacre.
telling me that, yeah.
And two things about this movie. Number one, I had never heard of it.
Mhm.
I was literally hanging out one Friday night. It was just me and my buddy Jeff, our buddy Jeff. And I was flipping through Shudder and I picked it at random.
I think Joe Bob had rapped. Wasn't it? Well, wasn't that it?
I mean, it wasn't the same night as
Oh, it
Joe
wasn't the
Bob.
same night.
No,
Okay,
we just,
okay.
it was
You
only
just
us.
landed on
So,
it, yeah.
but I picked Soul Survivor because I'd never heard of it. And we were in a smash or trash. Like we would either keep watching it or we wouldn't. We watched it all the way through. We were shocked how much we liked it, how creepy it was, how scary it was. Sadly, no longer on Shudder. It is available to stream free on Fawsome, which is awesome with an F.
Yep.
Or you can rent it wherever you rent your movies. But Soul Survivor, super creepy. But here's the thing people don't talk about enough about this movie. It is a dark, gritty, creepy, eerie movie directed by a guy named Tom Eberhardt. In 1984, Tom Eberhardt made another movie that's much more famous and well known that is absolutely nothing like Soul Survivor. And I love this.
Yeah.
He directed Night of the Comet.
No shit.
Night of the Comet is the most youthful, sunny, even though it's sad and it's dark, sunny, youthful, energetic, colorful, wild experience.
Yeah.
Same year, he made one of the most it's from 84. It feels like 1977. It's very old school, but very worth your time.
Okay.
I'm serious. We'll get my Blu-ray. You can take it home. That's your homework, young man.
Sounds good.
But yeah, Soul Survivor from 1984 is my suggestion. I do think it gives a little feeling of Final Destination, but it's very, very different.
There is a movie that's an exploitation that I've been wanting to get, and I think Severin put out the Blu-ray. It may still have it at this point, called The Survivor, which is about a bus crash that happens and one person walks away. Or no, it's a plane crash. It's a plane crash, actually.
Oh, okay.
And one person walks away, and then all the survivors form into like vengeful beings to come after the one that was supposed to be with them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm dying to see
that.
So do we have any emails this week?
I'll double check, but last I saw, nobody loves us anymore.
Sadness.
We had so many emails for such a while. So nothing here
Nothing this
today,
week?
but if you want to send us an email,
Yes.
all you have to do is type in doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from anybody who wants to write in, whether it's commenting on the movies we've watched, telling us a movie we should watch, or whatever you want to send our way. We do appreciate that a whole lot. You can also just go to doyouevenmovie.com. There's a contact form. Every way to get a hold of us can be found there as well.
And a fixed web store.
And a web store that works. Still nobody's used it, but it is up and running.
It is up and running.
So it does exist. And we do have a t-shirt and a coffee mug and a few other things that might just fend death away. Not a guarantee.
But don't put boiling liquid into that mug and then switch to cold liquid.
No, I say do it because if it breaks, I will complain to the manufacturer for you.
That's fair.
Yeah, because it should be able to.
So would you like to know what we are talking about next week on the show?
Well, I guess so, since there's nothing I can do to stop fate.
So we are kind of cheating next week, but we're cheating because of a listener request. We got a request from Nicole L., who wanted us to discuss 1976's Carrie with Sissy Spacek on the show for her birthday, which is, I believe, a couple days after, I want to say. I'll have that information for sure. I have it written down. But yeah, Carrie currently available on Max, Hulu, and Roku. This is going to pay tribute to two, actually, because back in 2023, we lost the great Piper Laurie, who originally was going to be the cheat for this end. Unfortunately and fortunately, we also had a death recently from the film. Priscilla Pointer passed a couple weeks back, and she plays the teacher in the film.
Wow.
So we are going to have two honors on that of 1976's Carrie, which I am excited to revisit. I have not seen that in a while. And between you and me, I might have a 4K because Huber Music and Video has one for $16.99 right now, and that's a really good price for the 4K because the slipcover's fucked up.
Ooh.
So I might go pick that up.
Well, Hell's Bells and Taco Shells.
Yeah, but yeah, we're going to be talking about Carrie next week on the show as we continue. May they rest in peace.
Sounds pretty, I'll say good, even though it's really dark.
Really sad.
So, but thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Do You Even Movie? We do appreciate it. As I said, you can email us, doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com, or head to doyouevenmovie.com for all information about the show.
Yes.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment. We will respond. If you're watching, also make sure you're subscribed. If you're listening to us, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also comment over on Spotify, and I do read and respond to all of them. And if they're pertinent to David, I let David in on it. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say. So
I guess that's it.
I guess that is it for this week.
Yes.
Maybe. But so I guess all that's left to say, my friends, is we will see you
Next. They're all gonna laugh at you.
Oh God, I was gonna go with the, you can't fight fate, but that works too. Oh man. Plug it up.